Hey, and we're back. Welcome back to Octobercast 2012. This is 24 hours of This Is Only a Test in support of Child's Play, which is a fantastic charity. They provide toys and games and things like that.
Tested.com/donate.
Yeah, we don't have to explain this anymore. We've been doing this for like 20 hours at this point. I think people get it, or they don't by now. Loyd Case is joining us for the next hour or so. I think your cohort again, Jason Cross, is coming in. I think immediately following. I think that's correct. I think that's it. I think we did this. This is what happened last year as well, as I recall. Right.
So which is weird because I came on at a totally different time. But anyway. I mean,
you were great last year. We really enjoyed talking about board games with you. We will get to that.
We just like talking about board games in general.
Right. Hey, Loyd, the chat would like me to pass on the sentiment that everyone in the chat loves you.
Okay.
Everyone.
Everyone.
And there's hundreds of people in there.
You may not bring like the crazy ruckus that someone like Jeff Green brings, but there's I don't know. There's an energy. There's something that you bring that people seem to respond to.
You're the thinking man's Jeff Green.
It's a wisdom. It's a wisdom.
Jeff's not listening to this.
It's a sober wisdom. A zen quality.
Okay.
I feel like if I climbed a mountain searching for enlightenment.
At the top is Loyd.
Someone very much like you.
I can't stand the pressure. The pressure's too much.
Well, let's alleviate that and remind people that we're also doing 1,000 push-ups.
Joey.
Yes, we are definitely doing
with the royal we.
Yeah, Joey's doing.
Well, someone's got to keep count.
We've all got crazy hair now, except for Loyd. Norm, you fixed your hair.
I have crazy hair.
Well, there goes more blocking of the earth. Joey's done 919 push-ups.
We're very close to
20 hours.
Are people pledging to the number of push-ups?
Yes.
We've had several pledges for the number of
push-ups. It's
$1
a push-up and $2 for every push-up over 1,000.
Not everyone, but
several people.
Some people.
Steve Lynn is in big on the push-ups front.
As much as you can. I mean, really, it's astounding how much money people donate so far. Joey needs 81 push-ups to complete 1,000.
I mean, it's a lock at this point, right? Short of a major injury.
Don't say a lock.
Yeah.
No. It's not a no-hitter.
Some kind of Joe Namath.
Oh man, why'd you say no-hitter?
Yeah.
Look at what you've done, Chan.
Yeah. So Joey's going to do that, and there might occasionally be a push-up cam throughout this.
Yeah.
We are going to probably do an auction in the next hour or so.
Yeah.
Our last one. And
this one is something like if I didn't have new financial concerns coming in the new year, I would be all over this next auction. This was something I would bid hard and heavy on.
This is something that Loyd can speak to.
What are they auctioning off?
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. The next thing we're auctioning off is a Stein of Science. Do you know what a Stein of Science is?
No.
It's right behind you.
Go get one. Yeah, we have it right behind us.
Is it a beer making kit?
It is a beer
my
drinking
fushigi.
kit. Oh no, the fushigi went.
Whatever.
Why didn't you use the Quake hold on the fushigi?
Because I was using this, and we have the one that we're actually going to give away. I've drank out of this.
So
it's a doer.
It's a doer.
Awesome.
That's also a Stein.
This
665 milliliters?
650 milliliters, I think, right?
Okay.
How long will this keep your beer cold?
Phil Broadnex is. So it is,
All day.
I think he said it's 10 times the vacuum that's in, say, a Zojirushi or a thermos or a normal thermal insulated bottle.
They put a lab doer instead of a metal container.
Exactly, and he makes a drinking implement out of it. He usually sells these for multiple $100s. Their doers are expensive in general.
That's right.
Because they are the reason they're expensive is they're thermally insulated, and they this one has a foam lid so that it provides insulation that will blow off if you can't build up pressure inside.
And this
you can
will
make a
keep
bad
your
bomb.
beer cold or your coffee hot.
Your beer cold or your coffee hot for an incredibly long period.
So, even more so than a Zojirushi, because my mind is still blown by the Zojirushi.
Remember how you thought the Zojirushi was magic?
Yeah.
This is more magic than the Zojirushi.
And way more volume.
You have to understand, I worked in a chemistry lab for a lot of years, way back in the day, and we would use these things to put like liquid nitrogen in. And even with the top open, the liquid nitrogen would boil, but it boiled for like hours.
Yeah, but I have a doer at home that we use for liquid nitrogen that will hold the liquid nitrogen for 22 days at negative 200 degrees Celsius. So it can keep things cold for a very long time.
See,
this isn't going to be quite that because it's a little less massy.
Break it down in real terms for me. If you poured some hot coffee in there right now.
If you want hot coffee on,
how much longer could I come back to it and it would still be hot?
When's Halloween? 4 days from now?
Yeah.
I'd say you probably have at least, if you put in coffee that's near 200 degrees, you preheat the doer so you don't lose any immediate heat. I would think, we haven't actually tested it, we can. I would think it would hold for at least 3 days at
wow,
warm
that's pretty impressive.
In
hot
practical, like one whole day testing, a cold beer in that doer in the morning was still pretty much ice cold at the end of the day.
Now, just to be clear, you need to put the cap on
yes, you do.
in order for this to work.
Yes.
So you can't just walk around like it's a Stein and leave it. So, but if you want to keep a beer cold for a relatively long period of time, this
And it
is
looks
the
cool.
way to do
And
it.
is this something that's commercially available?
It is.
Well, it is. This is like the Black Blood of the Earth. This is a hand-built,
Specialty product.
crafted product.
Okay.
And
So clearly I'm not going to win this one, but if I wanted one, where could I go buy one?
if you go to Funranium Labs, then Phil occasionally will do a run of Steins of Science, and
Okay.
he sells them. But like I said, they're pretty expensive. They're I can't remember.
$260.
They start at $300.
for-
Come
yeah,
on.
for this.
Really?
Yeah.
This is
Not all surprising.
just to be clear. I mean, our 5-liter liquid nitrogen doer was I think $600.
What's in here that's so fancy pants that it's worth $300?
The level of
Nothing.
vacuum, there's nothing. The level of vacuum between the two glass layers is much greater than any thermos you can buy.
It's more nothing than a thermos or a Zojirushi. That's the point. You're buying less.
And is
For more.
Is that an expensive process to create
Yes.
that level of vacuum?
It's $230. The 655 milliliter Stein of Science.
It's
So-
not so much as an expensive process. I mean, it is an expensive process, but only because you don't mass manufacture them.
Right.
Right.
Can I see it? I want to check it out.
Just don't drop it. It's glass.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Also,
what-
they are more fragile too. That's a good point.
And it's
Yeah.
very just cool, right? This is kind of manly, and it feels like
I mean,
industrial science
Just to be
at
clear,
work.
it's not that handle is not bolted on or anything. It is on with like pipe cinches that you use to join a pipe to a fitting.
Yeah, I mean, this is very
giant 4-inch,
industrial.
fitting thing. It's
Oh,
pretty
wow.
cool. Lloyd, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing
It's
okay.
been way too long.
Yes.
I like it.
Since
It's been
last
crazy.
we saw you on the
want one
podcast.
now.
Right.
I mean, I think we've seen you in person in human events. You've gone back. You got a straight job again. You're back to
More or
full time
less.
work.
Yeah, I'm senior editor at PC World now.
And so you have now completed the full cycle.
Right.
Well, we need to let people
You
know
wanna
how
start the bidding
bid
on this thing?
If you want to bid on this, but we're bidding just like we have on everything else. If you want to place a bid, send an email to tips@tested.com. We want you to put in the subject line Stein of Science and then your bid. Right now, we've already gotten one premature bid for $100. If this does not go for more than $100, I am going to bid it up.
I
I'm
think you
going
need to set a
right
reserve
now.
price on this thing.
I think that this is a hyper cool item. I bet if we asked Phil nicely, he would probably give us an autograph. We can take it back over to him and get
Yeah,
an
we
autograph.
have a new one.
There's a
to
new one in a
auction off.
box.
Yes.
And shipping. I don't know if there's rules about shipping doers out of the country. I'd say we probably can't send this to North Korea or Iran. But other than that, we're probably good to go. So get your bids in, and we're gonna run this. Let's say we're gonna run this until 5:30. So we're gonna give it some time. We're gonna let it air out, and we'll check in with bids every once in a while. So yeah, PC World. Sorry, we're all
having a
over
good
the
time with
place,
that.
Lloyd. So you've worked at Ziff. You've done a lot of freelance for Future over the years.
Right.
You've done the full circuit of the PC publications. At this
Yeah, I'm
point.
sure it's not ending too. I mean, it's like an endless. It's like a helix,
The
right?
Ouroboros. You just
right.
keep going
Yep.
around and around.
Yep.
How's being back? Are you on the magazine or the website mostly, or is it kind of everybody works? On
Well,
everything
it's
over
really
there
funny.
these
It
days?
kind of depends. Like, there's a period of time before John Phillips was hired as EIC when
Yeah.
we had no EIC, and so I think one of the issues. I think the magazine with Windows 8
Mm-hmm.
review, either that or the Ultrabook one. I forget. I wrote like half the pages in the magazine.
Oh wow, that's a lot
That was
of
just because we were short-staffed. It wasn't because I just sort of pitched in and.
At some point, somebody has to write. I mean, we
I should say half
all
the
of us
editorial
work in
pages of the
print.
magazine.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point, you can't ship blank pages in the
Right.
magazine at the end of the month.
Right.
They all have to get filled
Yeah.
somehow. So
But now we have we're more stable and we got people on board.
staffing up.
So you
Right.
reviewed Windows 8
Yeah.
for PC World, which is a big deal. How
Right.
do you get assigned that plum assignment?
I volunteered.
And presumably you did that some time ago, right? Because to really
Yes.
review an OS, you have to live with it for some
I
time.
started working on it when the RTM came out. I should say I, of course, played with the consumer preview and all that
Yeah.
stuff, but I held no opinion because I know from past experience that the OS can change pretty dramatically, particularly things like performance.
and it did.
And it did.
Yeah.
And so I started with the RTM. That was the basis of my review, the release 2 manufacturing version.
And what did you think? Because I have pretty strong feelings about it.
But even though RTM did not have the release in store, though.
within a week of actually using it almost full time, it became completely transparent.
Do you spend a lot of time in Metro, or are you primarily using the desktop still?
80% in the desktop.
I'm sorry, modern.
I should say, though, that I've set the whole thing up so that all my desktop applications are now tiles on the left side of the screen. So I just launch everything from Metro.
Okay.
It's just the start screen. I mean, it's just the replacement for the start menu.
Honestly, the only thing irks me as a mouse and keyboard user is that they do a terrible job of explaining things like how to access charms and some really key parts of the OS.
Yes, they say that they do this thing, go to the corners. Well, what does that actually freaking mean?
Yeah, when you first set up your account, there's a little thing that says swipe in from the edges or go to the corners, depending on whether it's a touch or a mouse and keyboard. And that's hopeless.
And so these little icons pop up when you do that. And says, what are those? And they kind of explain them, but not really. Yeah, I think they needed to do a better job of explaining what was going on. Even a little guided tour would have been nice.
Now, given that,
I mean, it should be something that was gated, honestly, like the way in Lion, I guess.
Well, that's like the
next Mac OS, you had to swipe up in order to move on to the next step of the install.
That's like my next article, which is going to run on Monday, to sort of pimp myself for a second, is your first 30 minutes with Windows 8.
Absolutely no pimping of yourself, Loyd.
What do you? I mean, you're staring at the metric. What does that mean? It's like so we sort of walk you through that first half hour.
Finding the context menu on a mouse and keyboard on the modern tiles, Metro tiles, whatever they're calling them now, is a pretty significant challenge, especially. Like if you get you right click and it comes up to the bottom.
Right.
On the touch screen, it's really like it doesn't explain it to you.
That's right.
And on a touchpad, it's super weird depending on whether it supports it right on.
And then when you're in the desktop on a touch interface, it's like, what do I do now?
Well, so I was going to ask you, what kind of hardware did you review it on? Because obviously there's a keyboard and mouse desktop, but also touch is a big part.
So the review is staged on a variety of things. Started with just a basic desktop, no touch, right? Just mouse and keyboard. Yeah. Got as professional as I could. Then we started getting some touch interface stuff in, and I started playing with that. We have this really cool thing called the Tap 20 from Sony, which is basically a giant tablet. It's actually an all-in-one PC that's a 20-inch screen, but it's got a battery in it, so you can unplug it and carry it around your house and set it flat on the table.
Designers and stuff like that, or is it just a weird thing that Sony made?
Yeah, it's a weird thing that Sony made, but it's kind of cool.
A 20-inch tablet?
It's actually an all-in-one PC. It comes with a keyboard and mouse and all that stuff, but it's got a touch screen, IPS panel, and a battery that'll run it for 3. It's basically an Ultrabook with a 20-inch screen. Is another way to look at it.
Okay.
So it's for your home. You don't carry it. You don't carry a tablet in a case under your arm. You just carry it around the house. It's really convenient. You set it flat on your dining room table, do games on it, stuff like. It's pretty cool. Anyway, that's how I sort of practice the touch stuff too. So there's a large touch interface I could experiment with.
So. I mean, did you kind of give it different ratings based on whether you're using touch, whether you're on a laptop, whether you're on a desktop, or were you kind of looking for a holistic?
I sort of took the holistic view of it, sort of a practical view. What are you going to do with it? And what are the improvements? What are the roadblocks you might run into with it?
I mean, this is the first version of Windows since probably '98 that I'm not writing a review of. It feels a little weird.
Right.
It's too late. We missed the window. I should have done it last week when we were setting up for Octobercast. So we chose to serve the kids instead of the audience, which was probably
the part of the problem is the other thing Microsoft did not a very good job of communicating, especially if you didn't read their blogs and stuff, is that there's a lot of improvements under the hood that have nothing to do with the user interface.
Right.
And they didn't communicate that very well.
Well, and if you look at the benchmark numbers, especially from the people who've done deep dives in benchmarks, there are substantial performance gains on things like systems with SSDs and things like that. Right. Or especially I think with the hybrid drives, right? If you have a hybrid system, you saw pretty ridiculous gains,
right?
And a lot of it feels very snappy, especially if you're on a big system. I'm running a hexa-core machine at home with a big video card and 6 gigs of RAM and 12 gigs of RAM, I guess now.
It feels very snappy on an Ultrabook with a touch screen too.
Yeah. Did you have any time with the ARM version, or was that a
No, I just played. All I did was do a little typing on it with their little keyboard covers.
Did you take part of John's keyboard test?
Yeah, right.
What's your WPM on?
I failed because one of the things I didn't realize, and it's kind of my fault, with the typing test that they decided to use, web-based one, is that it counts backspaces as errors.
Oh.
So I correct in real time when I'm typing.
Yeah,
right? I don't go back and edit later on.
That's not a way of failing. It's just that the test wasn't suited.
But anyway, the point is,
my
take on the covers is that the tactile keyboard, whatever it's called, the type cover.
Touch cover.
The type cover is the one with tactile. It's like that's nice, but really the touch cover is more useful because it's thin, it's very light, and it's what you're going to actually carry around.
I actually kind of preferred the touch cover.
It's cover first.
I don't know why you'd think it would be the opposite, but.
Yeah.
I like the
that was my initial part. I thought I was going to have the opposite view too, but I ended up saying, actually, the touch.
So you value the thinness and then lightness.
And the lightness, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I was really surprised by that. Let's Jason's going to be here. I'm sure we're going to talk about Surface. I don't know, you're welcome to hang out and go. I wanted to spend time talking about board games because we've talked about Windows to death at this point in 24 hours. I mean, we should give it an upshot and a takeaway.
On what?
Windows.
Oh, my upshot and takeaway is I think if you're an old school desktop user and you're not going to buy a new system in the next 2 years, upgrade when you buy your new system. If you are interested in sort of snappier performance and you think you're going to carry at some point a second device, whether it's touch or not, it's very useful. A lot of the cloud integration
The sync stuff is really good.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And so if you're a multi-PC kind of person, Windows 8 is very useful.
And what if you're some weird person that uses both Macs and PCs and iOS devices and Android? And all, you're a junkie and you should just get right on it because there's
That's right.
no hope
and
for
put
you.
SkyDrive and everything, and Dropbox and all your
SkyDrive is good.
SkyDrive is pretty amazing. Oh, there's flaws with it. First of all, SkyDrive is good because you get 7 gigabytes out of the box.
Oh, that's nice.
It has some weird flaws in it. Like there's a 2 gigabyte file size limit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm using FAT16 on their FAT32 on their
But
server.
that's pretty specific for cloud storage.
For video.
Who's going to upload 2 gigabytes
Well,
of
Dropbox
video?
doesn't have that problem.
Yeah, but I can't imagine somebody. I bet the
bigger
percentage
problem-
of users doing 2 gigabyte file uploads is
Right.
very, very small.
The bigger problem is that their terms and conditions for the curation is very strict, right? So if you upload anything that they think is questionable, they'll delete it and not tell you.
That's not. If
Have
I'm
there
storing my
actually
stuff
been
in the
cases
cloud-
of that, or is that just a theory of something that could happen?
Well, it's in their terms and
Robots?
conditions.
Robots will, scan
It's
stuff.
just like
and-
YouTube, right?
Right.
A quick update: we have we have 2 Stein of Science bids at $300. So
There you go. Getting
So
up
we're
there.
getting
That's
to
awesome.
where we want to be with that. That's
And
pretty
Joey's
good.
also completing, hopefully, the penultimate.
Oh, here he goes. Where are we?
Guns for Kids run
Very excited about Guns for Kids.
set.
Let's talk about board games.
Well, you had one more thing. You said you had a surprise about the Surface that you wanted to.
Oh yeah, this is a little.
Okay.
So I heard this from an unnamed source. I can't reveal. So I want to get that. So take it for you will. It's considered a rumor, but this whole Surface RT development, Microsoft. Someone told me that they didn't think that Intel could deliver Clover Trail with the performance that it needed for Surface RT. But it's basically for a Surface RT.
And Clover Trail is what HP is using in the NB.
Surface is
Pros.
the new Atom, right? It's a
Yeah.
new version of Atom. And everything I've seen of Clover Trail tablets is that they're going to surprise a lot of people.
So it's
terms of they're good,
It's
in a good
Atom,
way.
it's actually
Yeah, in a
good.
good way. Yeah.
That's what in using Novos and HP's Clover Trails.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to be playing games on them, but if you just want to do basic,
I don't think you're gonna be playing games on
on
Ivy Bridge Intel 4000 PC.
Well, the Metro style games actually run pretty well on anything.
Where's my water?
Joey, what's the count?
960 something?
960
Wow,
something.
I think one more set, right?
Oh, one more. Yeah.
36 to go.
You can take as long as you need, Joey. We got 4 hours.
1,000
to go.
push-ups.
All right.
That's not
Okay.
to be
Let's talk about
sneezed
games.
at.
This
Board
looks
games.
like a lot of little bits.
What do we
and
have here?
pieces.
Let's talk about board games.
I'm not going to open this up because I don't want all these to fall out.
No, that's probably
can we
best.
see that? Where's the camera?
There's
the
a
camera.
there's a overhead over here. I don't know if somebody's on it right now, but since Joey's in here, but
Okay, what this is from a game called Leviathans.
we saw this played at I saw this played at PAX.
It almost
Yes.
look like kind of Jules Verne type battleships.
Right. So it's a sort of alternate history thing where they invented this stuff that makes that you can fly, right?
Okay.
And they build these big battleships and battle cruisers and destroyers that fly through the air.
This is like Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, but not kind of.
Well, but
awesome.
40 years earlier, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so the whole thing about this is that, and the guys that do this, Catalyst Game Labs, are the same people that now have the BattleTech license.
Okay.
So they're really into world building, right? So
me see this stuff.
when you open the box, you get all these miniatures, you get this board that you can play the game on, you get rules and these funny dice, but you also get a lot of backstory. There's like these thick books that tell you about the universe and the people in it and all that. So they look like they're in this for the long haul.
I gotta say, the design of these models is really nice.
Yes, they're 3-color painted, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Wow.
I
beautifully
mean, you can
painted.
add more detail if you want to, but they already look pretty cool.
Yeah.
The way the game works is that each
Is
ship.
it a hex-based game?
Yes, it is, and each ship actually represents different classes of ships depending on what scenario you're playing.
So is it like you talking about a battleship situation?
Battleship, yep, exactly, and so these are like battle crew. Remember the old dreadnoughts, with the turrets?
Yeah.
And, yeah. It's kind of like that, except they fly through the air.
And how many players is this?
2 to 4, but two teams basically.
Okay, so if it's 4 players and it's 2 teams of 2,
Right.
and you're
Right.
competing against
Yeah.
each other.
And you're basically just kind of hunting each other's fleets.
Right.
So
Well,
is it
you can see everybody on this. but right
Random
now-
hex board, like a Catan style.
Yes, it's like a tile-based hex board.
Oh, so
But big tiles.
random
you
big
only have-
maps,
Yeah.
but-
There's not a lot of terrain on them because you're flying through the air, right? One of the things they add is clouds, but there's no, only the advanced rules take into account.
and you
things
can
like
see the
clouds.
entire board because obviously, okay.
Yeah.
So what's how random is it the combat dice based or is
So yeah,
it,
the combat is dice based. So one of the things they do is they have different kinds of dice with different numbering for different weapon systems.
Okay.
So you don't have to keep track of. It just says
don't have a
roll the red
dial
dice
on
for the
your-
big guns, right? So you don't have to like
Okay.
look up on a table and figure out what your D6 rolls are or anything like that.
And there's no clicking or anything like that with the. With
yeah,
the,
and then you have this little sheet basically that you actually use a dry erase marker to mark off hit points and stuff.
oh, that's really cool.
Where
Have you
where
gotten
does
to play
this
it?
fall on the noob to expert difficulty curve?
Probably the top 75% of the towards the expert, but not. You know, you don't have to be like a guy that plays Advanced Squad Leader to play this game.
Okay.
But this is going to be more of a turn-based strategy game than your
Right.
kind of Catan or.
Yeah, you figure it'll take you 3 hours to play a scenario.
Okay.
Wow.
So this is a Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon
Right,
kind of game.
right.
Have you gotten to play it yet?
No, I've set it up and I've looked at the board, but I haven't actually had a chance to play it. This is one I wish we can talk about games I have played that I can heartily recommend. But I think the coolness factor in this. Is
The models.
I love
are
those
gorgeous.
pieces,
I mean,
they're great.
I don't think our overhead did them very much
No,
justice.
they got kind of glared off, but
Let's
they
see if I
look
can
great.
Let me pull one out. One of the big ones out.
I don't want to. If we make a mess at this point, Lloyd, I don't think we can help you.
Right.
It's all.
We're not at the height of our dexterity
This is
right now.
not the Lego at 5 o'clock this morning.
But
was
that is a very
grim.
cool piece.
Oh, that's fantastic.
The turrets turn too.
These look like the Starship Titanic in a kind of awesome way. Okay.
Yeah.
So there we go. A giant space monster. These are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful finish on all
Yes.
of those.
Nice how big they are. I like how big they are.
Right.
And I
they're
like the
gonna-
design. It has a nice kind of steampunky.
Right. And right now there are
vibe to
just
it.
French and British fleets, but they're going to add Russians and Germans and
Well,
U.S.
naturally.
fleets. over
Oh,
time.
so I get to
Opportunity
beat
for
up the French?
expansions.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good.
I'm in.
Norm.
Sold.
It's very delicate. Oh, was I not holding still enough? I see how it is.
I'm seeing the
Norm-
very noble.
Norm-
Like.
Speaking of miniatures, turn-based miniature game, have you played the X-Wing game?
I have not. I
Fantasy
I
Flight
have
one?
seen it set up. I haven't actually seen it played. I saw it set up at a con, but I didn't get a chance to actually watch it played.
They have a bunch of they're going to expand the hell out of that, and they're pitching it as kind of an accessible turn-based.
Well, what it
strategy game.
is have anybody here played Wings of War?
No.
It's Wings of War, which is this World War I miniatures game where you're moving these planes around the board. It's basically the Wings of War rule set in Star Wars universe.
Oh, awesome.
So people that have played Wings of War said, "Oh, this is Wings of War," and so it is very accessible. It's like it's two sort of complicated flight sims the way that Memoir 44 is to complicated war games, right?
Okay.
It's much simpler and streamlined. So yeah,
so it's like
pretty-
the entry point for if you're interested in that kind of game and you don't maybe want the 12-hour
Right.
game that ends in a stalemate and everybody hating each other.
Right.
That's a good place to start.
that is.
The other thing that people were playing a ton of at PAX and was kind of the talk, like it sold out incredibly quickly, was Android Netrunner.
I haven't played it yet either.
So Gina and I have been playing. We played probably a half dozen games of that over a course of 2 or 3 weekends, and it's an asynchronous card-based
Right.
deck building game
Right.
where one person plays a hacker, one person plays
Yeah,
a
I
corp.
read through the rules and it looks very interesting because it's so asymmetric.
It's super asymmetric. Like the hacker deck, it is a William Gibson-esque cyberpunk
Right.
kind of world where you are literally hacking ice
Right.
with your programs to burn through and get to the stack and the dump and all the reads like Neuromancer.
Well, yeah, and you should point out that it actually is based on what's probably considered one of the best collectible card games ever made.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and, I mean, we've talked about this before. I am terrified of collectible card games because I like collecting things and it gets real dangerous for me.
Right.
No
So
magic.
I've always avoided that stuff,
Right.
despite the fact that some of the mechanics look really, really cool. And while the rules on that game are terrifying, like it is super duper complex, there are like one of the rules is that if the rules on a card supersede the rules in the game, the card wins.
Right.
So you end up with these weird cascading
Oh, yeah.
rule adjustments.
I love those kind of
and
things,
it's and it ends up but it doesn't feel like Race for the Galaxy, I guess, or Cosmic Encounters.
No, Race for the Galaxy is one of the billion icons on each card. Is that the one?
Yeah, and
Yes.
you end up with the same situation, and it always seems cheap because it seems like there's always some bullshit card that makes you lose,
Right.
and this doesn't have that because in the process of attacking, it's a one way. You only attack or you only defend,
Right.
And in the process of attacking, you see what the other person's capable
Right.
of. They see what you're capable of, and it's relatively easy to kind of make a shift
Right.
once you begin to understand the underlying mechanics of the game a little bit more.
The sort of Android universe game that I have played is, I think I brought it with me. Yeah, it's in my
I love it.
Infiltration.
You bring show and tell. I love
Infiltration.
when
Have you
come
seen
by, like-
Infiltration?
Is this
No,
the one where,
I saw it, but I haven't
you're-
played
you're
it yet.
hackers
It's
and
pretty
you go
neat.
attack the
It's
building.
also a hacker kind of game, except
Yeah,
it's,
this one
it's
is
multiplayer. It's not two player, right?
It's
So
a
this is-
big. It's a big tower.
Right. Well, you build this sort
build
of structure with cards, right?
And then every tile is a
right,
floor.
and you have a fixed number of basically time increments that you go through.
It's
and
alarms.
It's a push your luck game, right? So you're saying how far you can get into this facility as a hacker
okay.
before you get made.
And then there are only several exits. So as you go higher up in the tower, you have to exit the tower, and then
you have to work your way back.
You will also unlock, executives and security guards inside the building, and they'll chase you.
That's right.
Is there a fail state with that? Like,
yes,
in Netrunner,
everybody can lose.
In Netrunner, there are like we played a game that could have ended in about 10 minutes.
Right.
If somebody had made a poor decision, like really, and it wouldn't have seemed like a poor decision. It would just been kind of a bad decision.
Yeah, in Infiltration, you have up to 6 players, and they all can lose, or one guy can win, or they all can win if they get out.
Okay.
You are competing with each other, but more for points than trying to kill each other off. But of course, doing stuff that kills the other players helps you, right? So.
And it's all fun, like cyberpunky type things.
Yeah. It's got a nice theme. It's developed by the same guy that developed Dominion.
So. Donald Vaccarino.
All right. So.
Have you played the new? Are you still playing Dominion, or have you kind of moved beyond at this point?
I played Dominion when somebody asked me to, but that's about it.
Okay, so we went through this whole thing where we reorganized the Dominion cards so we could play the different expansions in different ways. And what we've started doing is just playing one expansion at a time.
Right. Okay.
Which lets you really see.
Well, things like alchemy, you kind of have to do it that way. Don't you?
Alchemy is my least favorite of those expansions because it adds another kind of currency that kind of messes up the core game in a way that I think he didn't anticipate and is maybe bad.
Right.
But playing the thing that he did that's really interesting with those expansions is each one adds a new kind of mechanic. So like Seaside added duration cards that last more than one turn.
Yep.
Intrigue added a lot of player interaction cards.
Right. Prosperity was like big money,
massive
numbers.
Money.
Yeah, big number cards.
Dark Ages is the exact opposite. It is money is really hard, and it's going to be maybe 30 rounds before you get gold sometimes.
Right. And then the other thing I heard about Dark Ages, that's the one I haven't played.
This is the brand new one.
Yes, is that it's very much a keep your deck thin kind of game because you do a lot of trashing. Trashing is a big mechanic.
Yeah, or alternately, you can go with a huge. There's a couple of cards that totally flip that on its end, and you can go with you can end up building a huge deck that could. Like it's actually kind of more advanced than some of the other ones from the first maybe 3 times we played it, because it seems like you could really ruin your deck in a way that's impossible
to recover from.
To recover from, and to the point that like if you're playing a 2-player game, which is I actually quite like Dominion as a 2-player game.
Right.
You could do both of you could ruin your deck, so you could end up in like a risk like stalemate of disastrousness. Over a long period of time, it's a completely different flavor for the game.
Right,
Lloyd, do you find that when you're playing board game these days, obviously you've got a diverse interest in lots of different games. Are you splitting your time equally amongst all these games and trying to do lots of different things, or do you keep coming back to like 1 or 2 favorites?
I tend to like split my time. Yeah, I like to play a lot of different things.
Because you do like a lot of turn-based strategy stuff, which
I don't know how you
I'm
keep
not
all the
super
different rules
into.
in your head. There, like it's all I can do to master or even basically handle the rules of one of these games. I don't know how you keep it all straight. Every game
well, you
has
don't. I mean,
Lloyd's
another
much smarter than us, it
Byzantine set
turns
of
out.
rules that you've got to.
Well, I mean, I don't memorize every set of rules. So like, if I don't play a game for like 6 months, I played it once. I mean, I have to. It's like learning it all over again.
Well, and even games that I played a ton, like Pandemic, I still have to kind of go back and refresh before I play.
Right.
And you always run into a scenario where the rules are a little ambiguous because they try to make the rules not super intimidating. So you do
Is Pandemic the same game that the iOS version is based on?
No, that's a different game. Same
No,
idea.
it's the opposite. You're playing the guys that are trying to cure the disease rather than spreading the
because I like it where I'm the disease.
Yes.
Well, in Pandemic, if you have the expansion to Pandemic and you're playing that, there is a bioterrorist character you
I've
can
never
play.
actually played. Have you played that expansion
No,
before?
I played the expansion, but not with the bioterrorist.
Yeah, we always played the other version because people seem more into the fighting the disease than being the disease.
Because I like Pandemic where I create the disease and you try to come up with the most awful
That's just
symptoms.
because you're evil.
Yeah, I would win the game and I'd have the whole world infected with
buboes and gonorrhea,
dysentery, insanity, and like anal fissures or something. It's like the worst thing you could imagine.
I now understand why Gary writes the scripts that he writes.
Yeah, but my favorite part about that game is that you can build like zombie outbreaks and stuff like that if you pick the symptoms right.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you can create 28 days later type scenarios.
Okay, another game.
Okay.
Topic. Have you guys played this?
Yeah,
No.
I played
Tokyo?
This is
very
awesome.
fun, so fun.
And it takes
This is
like
King of Tokyo. We should tell the people at home.
20
who
games. It takes like 20 minutes to
So
play.
super
fantastic!
It's dice rolling. Richard Garfield designed this, right?
Is it?
The
So
guy
is
who
it?
designed Magic
So you play the
Gathering.
monster.
Oh.
Yeah. you play the monsters, right, invading Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
And you're trying to kill off the other monsters and be the last monster standing, basically.
But you want to occupy Tokyo.
Right.
So the
great
time you
boss art,
spend
too.
occupying Tokyo or the harbor,
Right.
You gain points, or it's a good. You're in
You gain
advantage
points
position.
faster.
Faster.
Yeah.
But you're also vulnerable then to
Right, because
attack.
you can't heal yourself.
So it's a risk
Yeah.
assessment where
Yeah.
you want to stay in a prime spot, but be vulnerable to all the other monsters, but accumulate points based on your dice rolls.
So are there and it's a pure dice rolling game? Is there a board element?
There's a board element.
Very
where you
small
sort of-
board.
A very small board where you keep stuff in.
Oh,
the
so
dice
it's
are
like-
cool.
okay.
So they're these big dice.
Ooh,
And
those
they
are
have-
big dice.
Yeah, and they have different they have some numbers, which is how you score
So
points.
it's kind of like zombie dice.
Yep, kind of like that. So anyway,
Oh, neat.
that's King of Tokyo.
We've been playing. I played a bunch of the Resistance.
Oh yeah, that's one of those hidden role games, like kind of like a
It's
more
like
advanced werewolf.
Yeah, it's like werewolf, but without kind of the problems of werewolf, and with a lot of the you end up. I've never played werewolf really, but I've talked to a bunch of people who played werewolf, and it's really a divisive game.
Right. I played the Resistance a couple times. I think the group that I played it with wasn't very optimal because the Resistance always won, and it's like the guys who were playing the bad guys basically.
Yeah.
The
So the idea is you're a resistance cell
Right.
fighting a repressive regime, but you've been infiltrated by secret agents from the government.
Right.
Oh,
And
that sounds good.
the
Which
guys
game is
playing
this?
the
I like
secret
that.
agent-
I like that
it's-
storyline.
It's called the Resistance.
Yeah, and
Ah.
it's kind of a party game almost.
Yeah, because you want to have at least 8 players. You don't want
Oh.
to have a small number of players.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a
Well,
fun game with the right group.
Actually, it works okay with 5 if everybody's played before, but 5 is not a good number for
Right.
people.
So is it like one of the players is going to turn out to be the government
That's-
mole or something?
There's usually 1 or 2,
Yeah.
and there's specific win conditions for each side. Basically, there's 5 rounds,
Right.
and you have to win 3 as either the resistance or the
Right.
the infiltrators. And it ends up being some real mind games going on.
Yes.
So it's a
That
very
one
much a
sounds good.
bluff and psych out game, not necessarily a luck or skill.
Oh, I
or-
like that.
It's all about
I like
lying
mind games.
and fucking over your friends.
Lloyd,
Yeah.
have you played Saboteur?
Years ago, but I haven't played it recently.
The mining one.
Right.
Yeah.
The
that one's
dwarves.
fun. Yes.
One more.
Very simple to play.
One more big game.
That's a big box.
This is
Oh,
I
shit,
love
this one
this
looks
game.
terrifying.
So we talked about
This
this.
is terrifying. This has a lot of rules here.
Eclipse.
Is
But
this
the mechanics are actually pretty simple.
is this when I said I really like Eminent Domain? Is this the game that you
No,
said?
I'll show you that in a minute.
Oh,
This is
How did you bring so many boxes?
I
That's
have
amazing. Here we go. This
Have
is
you seen the camera he carries around?
that's true.
So this is basically Masters of Orion in a board game format.
Oh, okay.
Think about that. So you have these text-shaped tiles that you lay out as you explore the universe. The cool part of this is when I say it's like Master of Orion, each person has their own sheet where they can create their own ships.
Really?
So, yeah. So you're researching tech and you're changing your ships around and building your own basic configuration of weapons and shields and all that kind of stuff. So it really is kind of fun. And then there's of course you fight each other, but you also fight these ancient aliens and just like Master of Orion.
So there's literally like there's a pressing meta game pushing down on you in addition to the conflict brought on by the
Right.
people in you.
Right.
See now, I really love Eminent Domain,
Right.
which is a deck. I like deck builders. It turns out.
Right.
It's a great 2-player game. It works well with 4 players or more, and it's nice because unlike a lot of deck building games, which kind of seem like you're playing solitaire with each other, there's actually a lot of interaction on each person's turn, and you have to do things, and your deck gets bigger or smaller. You can take actions.
I love that word interaction.
Interaction.
In board game. So what interaction means is actually screw the other guy.
Well, but with Eminent Domain, that's not necessarily the case because you are when
No,
you
I'm
choose
saying
to
that's the jargon. That's,
Oh, yeah.
When you see it on Board Game Geek, I say I like a game without interaction. It means they want games where they can attack other people. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what that.
Well, I mean that's what Dominion Intrigue and Netrunner and all those kind of games are about.
But
How hard is this to learn?
this game is not insane to learn because for one thing, the rules are very nicely laid out.
Okay.
Even though it's fairly complex, and the way your own status board is laid out, it's very logical. So you can because instead, you know how a lot of games you gain cubes and you put them on the board and you're trying to figure out, okay, how many do I have and how many do I count in my spaces? Instead, you put stuff on your board and you take it off so you know instantly how many resources you always have.
So it's kind of like a power grid or something like that,
Right.
where you have that bank and you just know where how much is where.
Yeah, so it's almost like an Ameritrash game which has Eurogame mechanics. If that makes any sense at all.
Wow.
You gotta explain it for people who don't know what
Yeah,
this
you
thing
do.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That term
Eurogames.
Ameritrash strikes me as kind of racist.
No. It
No,
makes
it
sense
refers
in
to
the context
game
of board
genre, not
games.
to people.
No,
Yeah.
but it's like
It's about
is
the
it
people who make
insinuating that the
games.
kind of games that are popular in America are like are dumber or something?
No, it means that they come with a lot of stuff in the box. That's the trash part.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It has huge numbers of bits. A classic version of that would be Arkham
Horror.
Yeah, tons of little cardboard bits, 47 different kinds of cards. That's
Lots of things.
30
punch
different
out.
currencies you have to keep track
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
and
So that's
monster
what I
hits,
mean by
all
doing
that
it.
stuff.
Okay.
It means there's a lot of junk in the box.
So
Whereas
actually quite
you-
the opposite. Like even more little fiddly pieces.
Why
to
is
have to
that?
keep
Is
track
that
of.
because the designers in America just like those kind of tokens?
I don't really know. The reason Euro games are called Euro games is because it's a style that was developed, with Settlers of Catan and Carcassonne and those games, in which the game mechanics are excruciating because every turn is a critical decision, and so you're always having to think about what you're doing.
And usually you kind of eschew random elements in favor of more skill or
right,
or
although of
ages-
course Settlers has got the dice
dice
rolling
and
stuff.
Carcassonne.
What
has a
does
random
Game of
deck
Thrones count as?
Game of Thrones is more of a Euro game style with some.
Because it's very critical.
I think
it's
critical.
Yeah, maybe.
But if you're talking about deck builders and space,
I like deck builders and space.
yep, this is the game that I like. And I like this better than Eminent Domain. It's called Core World.
So what is the Eminent Domain? You basically are. It's kind of like a really stripped down Masters of Orion. You're
So
collecting-
if you have, we talked about Race for the Galaxy, right? And then talking about Eminent Domain. This kind of lies in between those two.
okay, so Race for the Galaxy is more complex. Eminent
Right.
Domain is pretty like it is Forbidden Island to
Right.
Pandemic.
Right.
When you compare Race for the
Yes.
Galaxy, I'm going to hold this up since Joey's kindly standing here aiming at the camera. Sorry, Joey.
And so basically, it's all cards. And
Core Worlds by Andrew Parks.
yes.
the
And you're
back.
starting with this set of cards, your basic set that, like all deck builders. There is a optional drafting mechanic in which you can kind of customize your deck a little bit. But really, you start out with the same set of cards, and then you build over time, and there's a fixed number of turns. There's basically 10 turns.
Oh, so that's nice.
And each turn, basically, your role is the barbarians invading the decadent central worlds, right?
So you're the in the Star. Well, we're not.
You're like
gonna
the
talk about that 'cause it's
Reapers.
prequels.
No, you're more intelligent than that. You're more like actual barbarians as opposed to
Like Space Vikings.
So maybe you're
right.
the robot people, not
yeah,
the
Space
Reapers.
Huns or
Okay.
something. Anyway,
Space Huns.
Space Mongols.
So
like that.
with the time limit, so with Eminent Domain, you have kind of a process where you have to expand, you have
Right.
to research, and then you have to scout, and then you have to expand.
what you're doing with this game is that you're in the middle. There's always a set of cards that come out kind of randomly in the middle, as opposed to the fixed set that you always get with
Okay.
Dominion. And so as you're laying out the cards, you buy stuff or you conquer stuff. Right? You conquer worlds where you buy stuff to put in your armies. And then also during the phases you lay out your armies, and you have the resources are action points and energy basically, and so you're spending energy to buy stuff, you're spending action points to play armies.
Oh wow!
It's pretty
okay.
straightforward.
And so only two kind of pieces of economic stuff to
Right.
keep track of.
That's right.
And I assume that there's a couple of different, like the one of the things about Eminent Domain that's kind of neat is you can take a bunch of different strategies. You can go, depending on how you draw cards, you can go heavy into research, or you can,
In this case, the different strategies represent sort of the kind of armies you might want to take. Like if you take at the very end of the game, there are these things called the core worlds that you're conquering, and the different core worlds give you different points based on the kind of army you build. So you want to actually go first, and it's all laid out on your little user card, so you actually can start planning a strategy.
Oh, okay.
Of course, if the cards don't come out that you want, then you're kind of screwed.
Well, that's always the case with
Yeah.
the deck builders, right?
Right.
And that's Core Worlds by Andrew Parks. I'm really interested in that. I'll have to track a copy of that down and go play it at my local board game store.
How often do you pick up new board games, Lloyd?
Maybe one a month.
One a month.
Yeah, not that many. I mean, I went crazy for a long time, but then I kind
And
of.
how? I mean, do you rotate?
Maybe not even one a month anymore, really.
Do you are there 6 or so that you rotate around?
No, it's just sort of what I feel like. See, one of the things that helped me slow down actually buying all these games is sort of I host a board game meetup twice a month, and so other people bring games. So now I can play games without having to
Oh, that's
organize.
nice.
Just
Yeah,
kinda
that helps.
Yeah.
I mean, we played a ton of Eminent Domain just because it was one of those things that I love going to PAX because the thing that is
I need
neat,
to do that. I still.
God, you would. Yeah, I think you would go and you would probably just hang out in the board game area the whole time because it's the kind of place, and it's like Kubla Khan or one of the other board games.
But bigger.
There's a lot of people there
Right.
that are into board games, so you have a big pool of people. People are kind of talking on Twitter about what games they want to play, and frankly, what it boils down to is you go check out the game that you want from this room that's full of
Right.
games. You give them your driver's license, which is a little bit weird, but I mean, that you got to have some sort of token of value in
Right.
order to get something of value from them. And then you go take the board game you want. You kind of put the board up on the table, and you find a spot with however many people you want to play with. It's free, and people just walk up and say, "Hey, you want to play Agricola? Yeah, oh, okay, that sounds great. Let's totally play Agricola."
Right.
And I mean, I don't know any place else that you can go and just find 3 people that want to play Agricola with you.
Well, I mean, you could always do that at Origins.
That's okay. So that's true, but I mean, it's and the thing that's nice is you can kind of find, like, last time somebody will say, I've always wanted to play this, but I don't know how, and it's a really friendly, no judgment place to learn.
Well, yeah, that's what actually, from everything I've heard and read about PAX, that's what I like about it, because it's actually sucking a lot of new people in. Places like Board Game Geek-Con and Origins, they sort of attract the people that are already playing.
Yeah, if you're already exactly.
So, and PAX is a way of sucking people into it.
And the thing is, you see people who kind of they walk by and they kind of poke their head in, and they come back and you see them poke their head in, and you kind of wave them over. And, hey, do you want to learn? And like when Gina and I go, we'll grab a copy of like Carcassonne or something that's relatively easy, fast to teach, fast to play, and then we'll also grab something that's ridiculous like Agricola or Power Grid or something kind of complex. And if you find people who want to play the complex game, that's great. If you want to find somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, then we taught a couple people how to play Carcassonne and stuff like that. And it's a neat situation for that.
Right.
So. What's next on your board game agenda?
Technically it's not a board game, and it's also
that's it. I'm out.
aspirational too, because I want to do this and I haven't had the time. And it's actually an RPG, not a board game.
How many did you bring?
How did you carry all this stuff?
This is just a book.
Okay. I was hoping. Oh, is this the Charles Strauss thing?
Yes, this is the Laundry RPG.
What is that?
For people that don't know what the Laundry is.
Oh my God, it's
so
fantastic.
Charles Strauss is an English science
Scottish
fiction writer. No, he's actually not Scottish.
Oh, he lives in Scotland.
He lives in Scotland.
Okay.
And the Laundry is this sort of Cthulhu-like. It's an organization that's once part of the Special Operations Executive, James Bond's organization.
MI6 secret cousin.
But they fight occult threats.
So if you imagine that the people who stored the Lost Ark of the Covenant, the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, actually weren't incompetent warehouse people and actually had like a whole team of secret agents.
Well, the funny thing about the whole Laundry thing is
demonics.
Well, that's the idea, is that wizardry and magic is something that you can calculate with computers, and in fact, if you do the wrong thing and create the wrong Mandelbrot set, you will summon a demon. Right?
Yeah, their point is that demonology is just high order math that people stumble into.
Right. But the funny thing, the humor in the Laundry is that it's extremely bureaucratic. So you're also not just dealing with these extra natural threats. You're also dealing with things like your management, your matrix management, and all the headaches of filling out forms, and it's pretty hilarious.
And a large portion of the joke is that the people who are who are approving your expense reports and giving you requisitions for new PDAs and pencils don't actually know. They think you're managing some treasury department or you're a directory of the agriculture or something weird like that.
They've gotten into it by stumbling upon something arcane, and they're really not competent in that field, but they've had to get sucked into this because
it's very English.
Anyway, it's very, but they have an RPG, and it's based on the Call of Cthulhu system with some modifications. So it's the percentile dice stuff, but the I love the environment, and it's great. I can't recommend the novel. If you don't have time to read the novels, the audiobooks are also
and so where do you start with the novels? Because they're not named, they're not in numbers. The Atrocity Archives is the first one. Okay. There is a progression, and there's kind of a meta story that goes on. So it is important to read them in order. The Wikipedia page.
Although
tells you
I noticed
that
with the fourth novel, he's slowed things down a little bit.
I think
because there's only so much you keep accelerating the end of the world, and the end of the world has to come. So I think he's kind of slowed it down a little.
I'm okay with that because I want more of those. Although I also want more of his post-singularity books. I think that those are quite good too. Although I think he said he's done with those, unfortunately.
Although the other thing that he's done with these is that each novel sort of mimics a particular aspect of spy genre fiction, right? So one of them is very James Bondian, and another one is very much like the stuff that Tinker Tailor, John le Carré.
The kind of mole hunt type situation.
Right. So he's very much mimics the genre with each one. It's kind of neat. Not relentlessly, but you can sort of see, okay, this was the particular inspiration for this particular story.
In the same way that Policeman's Union is inspired by Raymond Chandler books.
Right.
It's that kind of it's a gentle homage.
Right.
I love Charles Strauss. He's one of my absolute favorite authors.
Great blog too.
I've never played tabletop games before. I've never played like this kind of tabletop game before. Like pen and
RPG.
paper RPGs.
Well, next time you go to con, you should just wander around and get sucked into one of those because a lot of them you don't need to know the game to play them, right? They'll just like board games, they'll teach you.
like the DM will
Right.
keep you just tell you when to roll the dice and
right, exactly. Usually they'll say must know the rules or newbies welcome.
So it's just like playing a computer RPG. You don't
Right.
need to understand the underlying mechanics.
That's right. And the other cool thing about a con game is that the problem with RPGs that I've found, both running them and playing them, is that if you get sucked into a campaign, it's a huge time sink, right? So you got to meet every week. With a con game, it's a fixed 4 to 6 hour time frame, and you're done with the story. And you say, okay, I like that. I think I'll do it more, or nah, I didn't like that.
It was
I'm not gonna do it
fun for everyone involved,
Right.
but yeah, I've had all I need.
Of course, the DM also makes a huge difference.
Yeah, so that's the gamble when you do a con game that you're committed to for 4 or 5. Of course, I guess you can always do something that's suicidal and it'll work itself out
Right.
if you want out. So it's not like a game of Agricola where you're in for the bitter end.
All right. Yes, I remember one time I had a con, just to tell a little story, I got sucked into this really complex Japanese war game about, it really complicated, right? You remember the Avalon Hill manuals where they have paragraph numbers 3.2?
No. No, I don't.
Anyway, so I was sitting there and I was just playing the game, and at one point I got in a situation where my characters got killed. I said, "Great, I'm out. Bye, guys." I was only a half hour into this game.
Yeah.
And I came back 8 hours later and they're still playing.
Well, and at some point, the grim determination, we know about grim determination here on Octobercast, but you just get into the I'm not leaving until it's the risk thing.
Right.
Like the first time I experienced that was with either Risk or Monopoly, and it was the kind of thing where you end up picking up the board and you move it off the dining room table because it's time to eat food, and you have to figure out someplace to put it without moving the pieces, and
Right.
and all you know is that Mexico is the linchpin for the Western Hemisphere. If you lose Mexico, it's all over because they're going to roll straight from North America into South America, and then you've got real problems with Africa, and it's the kind of thing that turns a novice board gamer into a bitter old man.
I like what they've done with the Risk Legacy, and I'm not talking about the whole modifying the board stuff, which
Yeah.
I do kind of like, but the whole fact that the game actually takes 15 games to play,
15
but each
turn,
game only
yeah.
takes like an hour and a half, right? So you're not wedded to, how Risk, if you go back and forth, it could take a day, right?
Yeah, easily.
So
And it takes longer every time.
right.
So listen,
Gary, how are you doing over there?
I'm fine. As much as I love helping sick children,
Yes.
I also have one of my own,
Okay.
and she's not feeling better.
Oh no.
And
no.
so she's fine. She's just got a cold, but she's struggling a little bit, and we want to take her to the doctor. So,
So are you-
I'm gonna bail.
That is
for the last
100%
3 hours.
fine.
And we have a very large chunk of money that I think we can all be proud of, and you'll have more, but by the time we're done. So. But I have to. I feel bad for my little baby. She's not well, and we're going to get her to the doctor.
Yeah,
so.
go to the doctor.
The longer I stay here, the less likely I'll be able to get her.
Will will know exactly
Yeah.
what
Get on my
what
feet.
you're going through in about 6 months. I think.
Thanks, Lloyd.
All right.
Yeah. So, Gary, thank you for coming out,
thanks
man.
everyone. That was
Good to see you again, Gary.
We will.
Thanks for coming in.
Nothing stops the Octobercast.
Nothing is fucked, dude.
Yeah. Keep us posted on the
Yeah,
status
should be
of
fine.
Flopsy.
I want to get us some.
No, I know.
medicine or something, before.
You're not driving, right?
What? I'm gonna get an Uber.
Okay. Get a car and
Yeah.
and give her a hug for us. I
Will
hope
do.
she feels better.
So
Thanks a
you
lot, guys.
said,
See you, Gary.
you said in our email exchange for Octobercast, you also want to talk about XCOM.
I do want to talk about XCOM. Is Jason here yet? Joey?
Should be soon.
Yeah, we're coming up on the hour mark.
Quickly, bathroom break.
Go take your week. So hey, Jason's not here yet, so we have time to talk about XCOM.
Yeah.
We're eating in his time. So XCOM, my PC gaming heritage started with like M1 Tank Platoon,
Right, yep.
Microprose games, F-19, and that kind of stuff. And then I skipped a while, and I went to college and ended up on a dorm floor full of people who just gotten brand new PCs because they were freshmen in college, and that's one of the things that happened at the time. And I simultaneously discovered, I think I'd already played X-Wing, but I simultaneously discovered, this was in the spring of fall of 93.
Okay.
I simultaneously discovered XCOM and Wolfenstein 3D and like Commander Keen and all that kind of stuff, and crazy adventure games.
Right.
And terrible Sierra games like Leisure Suit Larry and and the Gabriel Knight predecessors. And I guess I want to say that like the Tex Murphy stuff came in there, but I think that was actually probably a little bit later. But XCOM was the white whale because that game was damn hard.
Right.
Like
Yes, it was.
like it like I sat there and I would watch a person who's good play XCOM and I'd be like, okay, I think I finally understand this now. And then I would my shuttle would land and I'd see the fog of war all around me. I'd send my dudes out of the shuttle one at a time, straight to cover, and they would get mowed down coming right out of the goddamn shuttle. and I was just like, fuck this, I'm going to go play Wolfenstein. But this XCOM game, like, because I loved the idea of managing, of the metagame, managing the fight against the alien menace.
There were 2 XCOM games, right?
Terror from the Deep and XCOM Enemy
Unknown.
It was
no, it wasn't Unknown. It was something.
But it was -com. It was, let's call it X-com.
Right. Anyways, yeah, I played both of them, although I liked the first one much better.
Terror from the Deep added undersea mechanics that were kind of weird, I thought. I wasn't very good at either of them, it turns out. And I think a lot of people had that same experience. But the idea of...
Well, the idea, it wasn't just your squad, right? You had all this research you had to do back at your base. And
the research at the base and the developing the tools to fight the alien, that was much better than the turn-based stuff for me. New XCOM game came out. We've talked about it with several people so far, and I did briefly, though. And it is magical.
The turn-based game is more forgiving than the original, which is good. This is a good thing.
Well, they smoothed the rough edges of the turn-based game in a way that didn't, I don't think, removed the parts of the turn-based game that were really, really something special.
Right.
I mean, okay, so the maps are super linear compared to the old maps.
Right. But they're also more, in some of the original XCOM games, you spend 3 hours just moving your little guys around in one map.
Because you can't move them too far or they're going to get killed.
That's right. And there's huge maps in some cases.
Yeah, so it concentrates the fight in a place that works better for you, which I think is a good thing. You end up having... you can sit down and play a round. Like I would play 1 to 3 rounds of XCOM a night and spend maybe 60 minutes to 90 minutes and be really happy about it. Have some of the fun metagame stuff in between rounds, and like it is possible to not to do a mission and have your guys not die on normal, and without knowing any kind of secrets or doing any save cheating or anything like that, just by playing smart and you don't have to know. Like, I'm having a real hard time with words now, Lloyd. I apologize, but you don't have. Yeah, it turns out you don't have to. Like, one of the things that annoys me about kind of the modern games is that a lot of times it's game design relies on trial and error for you to figure out how things work, how the systems work, and all that.
I'm sorry.
I
love Dishonored, but yes, that's part of the thing is just trying to figure out how.
The mistake that Dishonored made, because I've only played the first 2 hours of it, is that they tell you early on that it's bad to kill people, and I don't think that is like, I understand that they imply that there's a good ending and a bad ending, and from what everybody's told me, you can kill a lot of people and still get the good ending, and there's the good ending and the bad ending aren't. There's not a bad ending and a good ending. There's just dark endings and light endings, and like the thing that I found with that is you don't have the skills to not kill people until you're pretty far into that game. Right. So implying in the first 20 minutes that killing people is going to really mess up the game, I think puts you in a situation where you try to do trial and error.
Anyway, back to XCOM.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm what I find is that the balance has changed a little bit. The metagame is now harder than I remember the original metagame being, because the metagame is all about how you get your resources to make your squad better, and some of them are very tight.
Yeah, well,
especially early on.
And not only get your resources to make the squad get better, but also like balance the satellite demands too. Right. So there's a bunch of different things. There's a lot of pressure going on in this metagame. Right. One is that you have X number of countries in the XCOM, like
in the world,
secret cabal.
Right.
And if you lose a certain number of them, I think it's 7, then you just lose. The game's over. 10, 15 hours, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. It ends and you start over. Which sounds horrible, but actually you don't mind at all. Because I've done that a couple of times. I'm not ashamed to admit I've died and started over, and I'm better each time. So the second time in, I was much more proficient at the like, you learn where to focus things because it's a very phase oriented. At the beginning, you have to get satellites,
right?
Because if you don't get satellites, then you can't keep the panic level down. If you don't keep the panic level down, people pull out of the XCOM alliance, and I don't understand the motivation for pulling out of the XCOM alliance, because it seems like that's the way you would fight the alien menace, but people aren't necessarily rational.
Right. And then the other thing about it is that, like, at some point, you think you're getting a handle on things, and then some resource you need suddenly becomes scarce. Like, in the current game I'm playing, I can't get alloys to save me, even though I need it to build anything I need to build right now.
When you start looking at taking the terrible mission that's not going to help you with the panic level just because you want to get the extra engineers so things are cheaper to build,
right?
And it ends up, like, I have a couple of rules I've developed, and I've read some message board threads, and like always have spare satellites. Don't use them the moment you get them, because you can dump them into things and reduce panic instantly with that. And that turns out is real key. Like not losing people out of the alliance is a good thing.
Can you get people back?
No, once they're gone, they're controlled by the aliens basically, and, and it's like they're.
I see. They've been infiltrated by the Men in Black.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so that part is really like there's a lot of moving pieces. The tutorial kind of sets you up in a bad place, leaves you in a bad place. So I think I've been telling people to do the tutorial
and then start over.
Maybe play a couple missions and then start over. But the neat thing about it is you're telling a story. Like you're telling your own story.
Right.
With Norm, have you played? Oh, Norm's doing trading cards.
I have not played it.
Norm, we've just lost Norm at this point.
Oh, a long time ago. Continue talking. It's a good conversation.
You end up telling the story of this ragtag bunch of misfits.
Right.
It starts out as with inadequate machine guns and no armor, and eventually turn into a badass alien killing crew.
And then the other thing I like is that about the tutorial. One thing I do like about the tutorial is that it deliberately kills off a couple of people.
Yeah.
So you kind of get used to the idea. Yeah, you're going to take losses as you're playing this game. You're going to get used to it.
But the thing about so there's a couple of things about that. One is that the first playthrough you're going to lose people constantly. It's Red Shirt City down there. It's not good for the noobs, because even the people you've stuck with, if you have somebody who lasts like 4 missions on your first playthrough, you're doing pretty good. On that second playthrough, you kind of learn, oh, okay, so I should keep the assault guys up front and save that second turn so they can pull back if they need to, and you learn about kill zones and cones of fire and all that kind of stuff. I just got a text message here. I'm going to make sure it's not Jason. Hey, Jason's 5 minutes out, so he'll it's perfect. You learn secrets that let you keep your guys alive, and you kind of. I also changed the way I did my research tree a lot, because there's some choices you can make there, and I mean. The interesting thing talking to different people about how they play is everybody's playing this a little bit differently.
Right.
So I would be interested to know, since you're sitting here and I've been talking
I have
for like
2
20
double
hours.
tap snipers I take with me all the time.
Well, that is a really good way to kill stuff fast, it turns out. Double tap snipers.
Oh, and both of them can run and shoot. You know, the skill tree sets up so that you at one point you choose between the ability to move and then shoot your sniper rifle, or some other ability which is useful.
The other ability is great.
Yes, but being able I discovered that being able to move and shoot is much better.
Because the other ability is shoot anything that you have line of sight to that anyone in your squad can see, which is incredibly powerful early on when you're fighting outside a lot, and then is useless as hell when you're fighting in alien ships in the second half of the game. So the double tap snipers. What's your normal 6-man squad? 2 double tap snipers,
2 assault, sometimes 1 heavy and 1 support, and sometimes 2 support.
So supports for healing and suppression and stuff like that.
Right. Support I use partly for healing, and they're also smoke grenades.
Oh, smoke grenades are pretty good. They're like a get out of jail free card.
Right.
And do you do the multiple smoke grenade uses, or do you do the other one?
I do 1 of each usually. If I take 2, if I do take 1 support, I take the 2 smoke grenades.
So in the kind of WoW Blizzard style, it's simplified. There's 2 competing trees. So for example, on the assaults, you can spec defensive, or you can spec offensive. For the supports, you can smoke toward like support and suppression, cover fire, or healing. And you end up, like, I find that I actually don't diversify. I thought I was going to diversify, and then I just can't do it. Because if you diversify and your healing support guy dies, you're boned.
I tend to tilt towards defensive characters, and then I give them scopes.
Okay, so they have higher... And you can, like, the scope completely counteracts... There's pros and cons to everything. You were talking about the snipers being able to shoot, run and then shoot, which is not something my guys can do. But you can counteract the negative penalty that you get from that having that skill by adding a piece of equipment that you're going to probably put on anyway.
Have you used the little robot guys yet? I haven't done that yet.
So how far in are you?
I've got demons right now, so I'm that far into the game. The fighters. I've got alien fighter technology.
But you haven't captured those hologram guys that control the ship yet, I guess.
I have captured one of those guys.
And have you seen sectoid commanders yet?
Yes, I have. I have the ability to build a psionics lab and all that stuff. I haven't done it yet.
So once you start facing psi enemies, the robot dudes can't be mind controlled. Which it turns out, when the good news is the AI is bad about, at least on normal, which is what I've been playing. The AI is a little dumb about which guys it mind controls. It usually goes after a heavy or a support, and they're both pretty easy to keep suppressed and keep controlled because you don't want to kill your own
guys,
dude.
that's right.
That's real bad.
Yeah.
And you can't really control enough to just kind of wound him temporarily. So you just kind of have to get out of his way and then try to kill the guy who's mind controlling
Yes,
him.
I noticed you can't shock your own guys too, which is kind of really annoying.
Yeah, that sucks. I found that out the hard way when I took a shotgun in the face immediately following. But what you can do if you have the squad sight stuff, which is what your double tap snipers lets them shoot anything in line of sight, is you can just snipe the guys that are from halfway across the map. You put a guy way up on a hill someplace, and it just kind of works itself out with bullets or plasma rifles.
And then but you can also, do the thing in the barracks with the little the extra abilities you can buy, things like making your guys more resistant to psionics.
Get more will. You can actually eventually research a thing that will give them a mind shield.
Right.
But then you don't have any other items. So there's this whole. I'd love to see their kind of skill tree flowchart when they were designing all this stuff, because there's a lot of checks and balances throughout the whole system.
Right.
And it makes for
interesting choices.
Yeah, like Jeff was saying, he plays Jeff Gersman does all heavy. He has like an all heavy squad.
Oh, really?
Which seems like a phenomenally bad idea. And I was thinking about it, it's like if you put scopes on all those guys, they can actually hit stuff and do a ton of damage real early in the game.
Right.
And it gets kind of interesting. It's a I haven't had this much fun playing a turn-based game since like Civ Rev or Civ 5.
Oh, I remember what it was about the support guys. One of the skills you can give them is they can run really fast. So you can move them much faster across the board and stuff. They can really interesting as scouts at that point.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I like the skill on the assault guys that lets them be invincible to the first shot that was taken against them.
Yes.
That one's fantastic because you can do real dumb stuff at that point. Where you're like, well, as long as I think he can't get hit by two guys, but let's take a chance. Let's see how this goes. We have a rival
Jason Cross.
So why don't are we on? It's an odd hour, so we don't have to do the restart and save and archive and all that stuff. Lloyd, you're welcome to hang around, of course.
Okay.
Let's bring Jason in and let's start talking about.
Now we're gonna have two services. It's gonna get awkward.
Oh man, we don't want to.
Yeah, we'll
tell her he use.
I'll overlap with Jason for maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, you guys.
Either side's fine.
Take the widow seat if you want. We unfortunately lost Gary due to a sick child. This is an Octobercast first. So you have to kind of nod off occasionally is the key to replacing
Gary also left his Tupperware. It's Mr. Lid.
He left the Mr. Lid?
He used it to store garbage near the end.
Yeah, well, we found out that Mr. Lid is good for a lot of things. So joining us right now, it's Octobercast 2012, in case you haven't been following along for the last 21 hours. Is that right? We're 3 hours out now, Norm?
Less than 3 hours.
Wow.
I think we started a little late. I don't know what the official timer is.
We started 9 minutes late, if I recall.
So just about 3 hours.
That seemed important to me at the time.
That means I'm running out of time.
Yeah, exactly. Joining us now, Jason Cross from Tech Hive.
Yes.
A IDG joint.
Yep.
Publishers of Mac World and PC World.
Yeah, it's our new thing.
Yeah, it's the new hotness.
Sort of.
In IDG Tech Hive. You guys are co-workers again. So you guys had a tour of duty in the past.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
for 5 years or something.
Yeah.
like that.
Stream Tech.
Yeah.
I stole Jason, brought him out from Vermont.
Really?
That's true. Yeah.
Where were you before?
Computer Games Magazine.
Oh, that's right. You were the Greg Viederman of computer. You were the hardware
I was the Greg
guy of CV.
or the Lloyd of that.
Yeah,
or whatever.
fair enough.
Even though Lloyd didn't do the hardware section of CGW, he essentially did the hardware section.
But yeah, I know you didn't. Lloyd was yes. Lloyd is the hardware guy. It turns out. Your pile of cards is getting real tall there, Norm.
I got a lot of cards.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize just because we're all over the place at this point. It's been.
Is this like baseball cards?
I'm surprised you guys are functioning, speaking
pretty well actually. I think the timing. I think the third win is really
third win is coming in.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. So
it's too bad Gary had to leave. I had to tell. I was going to tell him. We do a podcast every week at Tech Hive.
Interesting.
Called Play This. Yeah, like everybody. Okay. Every site has to have a podcast. Ours is about digital entertainment stuff. So it's all just streaming movies and music and games and stuff like that. Just
Netflix and
yeah, it's not gadgets and stuff like that. It's all Netflix, Hulu,
media, not hardware.
It's media. It's sort of suggestions of things we've found that are good to watch and stuff like that.
Excellent.
And I swear, almost every week, somebody has to bring up The Walking Dead.
Oh,
Every single time.
have you
TV
played
show
it?
or the game?
He's not here, so we can
both.
talk about. We can be honest now.
Right.
I mean,
So it was the game, which every episode continues to be fantastic. So every time a new episode comes out, somebody has to bring up how they're playing it. It's great. And then the show started up, and people are really a fan of that. I haven't seen the new season of the show yet. So
First episode's good.
yeah, that's what I heard. But I didn't finish out the previous season.
Yeah.
Last season not so good.
I stopped watching Herschel's Farm. I couldn't take any more of that. Once the fat zombie went down in the well, it was. I'm out. It's cool.
I couldn't get into it. I thought it was too slow paced.
The whole from the first season on.
They cut budget second season, and so they didn't have a good B plot. So the B plot became outside the farm, and A plot was inside the farm.
That makes sense.
And this season, they actually have a good, two well-produced A plots and B plots so far.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, but the game I think is superior to the show, anyways. I'm loving the game.
I have the game. I mean,
Well, they're different universes.
So
They are, but it's sort of. But it's
I-
still The Walking Dead. Still very noticeably The Walking Dead.
I before we get into The Walking Dead, I want to make sure update the bid status on the Stein of Science. The Stein of Science is, if you're just joining us, is a doer you can drink beer and coffee out of. It keeps things cold or warm with the lid on for an incredibly long period of time.
Days.
Yeah, days, not hours. It is an order of magnitude less stuff inside between the two layers of glass than in a typical thermal bottle like a Zodrushi or a thermos or something like that. I think our top bid right now is $350.
I think so.
Awesome.
$350 is the top one right now. So Robert is the top bidder. We're going to let this one run until 5:30, which is about 2 hours and 15 minutes from now. So if you would like to bid, send an email to tips@tested.com with Stein of Science in the subject line and your bid. And if you're the top bidder at the end of 5:30, then well, congratulations.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I have some swag for you guys.
Oh,
Thank
sweet.
you.
Wow,
I have a find. I got these custom made up for some of a Tech High bag. It's a Timbuktu bag.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's really good
Fine
quality.
San Francisco company.
Fine San Francisco company, made in America, etc. It's not obnoxiously branded. It only has our little logo, no URLs.
So
no
your
anything.
logo is a series of lines in a hexagon.
It is I think officially it's called the Honey Dipper.
So
But it is sort of a Honey Dipper, sort of a hex thing. Yes. When we rate things, it's in hexes.
Okay.
Which is incredibly nerdy.
I like that. I like the nerdy aspect of this.
Yeah, but you can wear that around and not feel like you're a product placement or something
That's
like that.
fantastic. Thank you, sir.
We
It's
just
Giants
got
like
those
color
custom
schemes.
built up for a small number of people who worked on the site before it launched.
That's
that kind
awesome.
of thing. And we had an extra, and I was like, oh, they can give that away or auction it or whatever they want. It's just a good bag, even if you don't know
Well, the
site.
Timbuktu bags are I mean, they're solid messenger bags that you can put a laptop in and
Yeah, that is just the right size for a 13-inch laptop.
It
just fits the
It's
sleeve.
amazing. The 13-inch laptop is now the default size for what size laptop are you carrying around, Lloyd?
Yeah, 13-inch.
Yeah.
Jason?
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Norm's
11
an
inch.
11-incher here.
I don't carry a laptop around anymore.
Yeah, well, there is that as well. So we talked about. Well, let's talk about Walking Dead. So
This is my good segue to leave because I have no opinion about Walking Dead. So.
Lloyd, thank you.
Good to be
Pleasure to
here.
see you as always, and thank you for bringing. I mean, it was like the bag of holding, full of board games in here. I mean, it was board game. I kept waiting for something for the board games to stop, and they just kept coming. It was amazing.
Do you have a recommendation for people? Maybe they play Catan or Dominion, and they don't have a big group of friends to play board games with. What's one they can invest in that they can have fun
They
from
don't have a
anytime?
good group of friends. You
A
mean so
massive
To
group
play
of friends.
board games with, like a regular board game night.
Okay, I think a good game to start with, actually, and I didn't bring that with me, is Lords of Waterdeep. The reason is it's kind of got this Euro game feel to it, and the mechanics are really straightforward. So it's like you're sort of playing against yourself, but you're doing some competition with, and interaction with other players. It's fairly easy to learn, and for the geeky guys, it's set in the D&D universe. So
okay.
kind of
And
nice.
it's relatively fast play too, right?
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours max. Max 2 hours, but it's more like an hour and a half.
And that's even with people learning the rules. And the rules, once you get going, are relatively straightforward.
Right.
In that, as I
right.
understand.
So that's what I recommend. If you've already played a couple of Euro games, that's probably a good next step.
Fantastic. Thank you
All
so much, Mr. Case.
All right, bye now.
Always a pleasure.
See you later.
Walking Dead.
And I'll see you Monday.
Yeah. You guys are just around the corner, it turns out.
Yeah.
Actually, no, you won't see me in India. I'm in Microsoft.
Oh, you're going to build.
I'm going to build.
Oh, that's right. You're going to build. I'm going to the Windows Phone thing in the morning. So.
I'm doing that one.
Yeah. They canceled the Android thing, so my life got a little bit simpler.
They canceled the Android event?
Because the hurricane.
Oh, it was supposed to be, yeah.
Because Sandy might go right it smack into New York,
Yeah.
so they
Wow.
and it's going to mess up everyone's travel and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
they've delayed that Android event. So with details to come about when they're going
It's all right, we all know it's good.
I'm
What's
stoked
going
not to
say,
be
right?
in New
Yeah,
York
they
over it,
lost
yeah.
one in a bar, which is hilarious. But
That's never happened before.
yeah,
No,
so
they had to do that because Apple did.
yeah, that's the snarky remark is, oh, Apple's losing phones in bars. We should do that.
$380 on the Stein of Science now.
Awesome.
That's pretty good.
Um,
I would buy that if I had $380 to spend.
Yeah, it's a awesome thing.
I'm gonna have to go buy one next time they build a. make
Yeah,
a
so
run of
it's
them.
fun. It's Funranium Labs if you're interested. But,
Yeah, I caught that part before I had to get in a thing and come down here.
Yeah,
So.
do the bus ride.
Yeah,
Just in
very,
Berkeley.
very cool.
So you played the Walking Dead game?
Up
Are
to
you-
4, I haven't played 4 yet.
Okay,
Right. So I
that's
know,
the Gary episode.
I know, but yeah, exactly. And every time I have a free moment to play games and stuff, where I'm still going through Borderlands 2 with the girlfriend, we're co-oping our way through it. So.
He's basically a horrible person, Gary. Just to know that now.
I've heard I keep hearing it in my office. People are just like, I just can't and they can't spoil it, but they're just like, you just
No,
won't
you
believe.
should play it
And I'm like, "Oh."
before it gets spoiled because
I know.
it's yeah.
I mean, it's a safe buy, but I think a lot of people are still waiting maybe for the full
package.
the
Yeah, I
whole
mean,
season.
I've got the as they come out. You know, I bought the pass. I get them as they come out.
Well, so Gina and I have been playing those. I mean, we're playing the PC version on the couch in the living room with Big Picture.
Oh, cool.
Which is a wonderful experience all around. I mean, it's still beta, and there's some weird shit that happens sometimes.
If I could more easily connect my PC to my TV, I would totally be doing that.
I am so lucky because my PC is on a wall that is directly behind the TV, and there are my Ethernet ports, which I put in myself when I bought the house, are literally back to back. So I just it looks really terrible. I just took the plates off of both of them, and I ran the cable through the hole because I have an HDMI cable from my PC. So all I have to do is hit like Windows P twice and change the audio properties, and then go start Steam, and I'm like,
and
I have
dongle with wireless.
Yeah,
Xbox
I have
360.
PC in the living room. It is. I feel like I'm playing console games in the future, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But Gina and I have been playing, and that basically consists of me sitting in the chair with the controller, and like when we have a decision that we can talk about, then we talk about it, we work through it. When we have a decision that's timed, then there's like she says one thing and I say another. I'm like, oh God, I don't know what to do. I think and then at some point I have to make the call. And usually I just pick the third option.
The genius of that game, I thought, is the way that the show isn't so much about fighting zombies.
Yeah.
It's about the tension between people. And
Same comic.
How do you get that in a game where you can sit there and mull over what you're going to say to people? Well, there's two things you can do. One is you can make those decisions matter. They close off gates. They make things happen that if you didn't do the other thing.
Which they very clearly do.
They
in some
very
cases.
clearly do, and they let you know that you're doing it.
Actually, I turn that off. It's much better with that off, I think.
Yeah. But initially, I think there's a thing when you start playing the first episode that lets you know, hey, your decisions are going to change. And the other thing they do is they don't give you time to sit there and think about it and mull it over. You have to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And that makes you really tense when that comes up and that little bar is going down and you freak out.
Well, and the other thing they did is they did a really good job making those choices that you make unambiguous. So you know that this is the dick response, and this is the I'm freaking out, and I can't take any more of the zombie apocalypse, and also this is the I'm going to try to be the good guy.
If you choose to save one person or the other, it's still not going to twist it on you. You attempt to save one person, but then that person dies.
You have a very clear sense of agency in what seem to be all the major. You feel like you have agency in what seem to be all the major decisions of the game, which is super duper important.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of the way that they work that.
Are you playing on PC?
Yes.
We've had a great time with it, and it's resulted in some like really fun arguments and like going to bed not angry at each other, but it is a brutal game. Even the end of episode 3 was
yeah.
Really
I just
rough.
love the stats at the end where you get to compare against what other decisions people made and stuff like that.
So does that make you feel like a psychopath ever? I ask merely out of curiosity.
What the stats?
The stats, yeah.
Sometimes, not really a psychopath, but sometimes you see something and you're like, really? Like 70% of the people chose something I didn't choose?
Yeah.
And they're like, you
did,
go,
did
what's...
you miss something?
Or did you say, did I miss something? Or like, what's wrong with them? Or what's wrong with me? I don't...
Like, I wonder
But
sometimes...
that really makes you want to replay it.
Yeah, you wonder if you, like, maybe chose an option earlier on that closed off one whole, like, a whole side mission or something, that if you had chosen to side with the other person, would have sent you on a little bit of a different path, maybe made you feel differently about that character or that situation that you're in next. It's really quite good.
Yeah.
And the 4th episode is surprisingly funny in some really dark places. I can't. I mean, Gary's not here, so I mean, we can
Pimped it plenty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You should play it. Yeah. And speaking of things that we should be pimping, let's talk about how to donate to Child's Play for Octobercast. It's really easy. All you do is go to tested.com/donate, scroll down to the bottom of the page, go to that chip in widget, hit the button, put in a dollar amount. It'll PayPal the money straight to Child's Play. We don't see it at all. Gary is actually on his way to Vegas right now. He thinks he has a check, but it's just a piece of paper with like a 1 and some zeros on it. And he's going to go and try to cash that in. The whole baby sick child thing. It was just a front, I think, to get the hell out of here.
Sick child. He saw seven reds at a roulette table in a row. It's gotta be black.
Gotta be
next.
black at some point. We're up to $380 on the Stein of Science. I don't know if I already said that, but there we go. If you want to bid on that, the email address is tips@tester.com. Put Stein of Science in the subject line along with your bid. It has to be more than $380. Just to be clear, this is a doer that will keep a beer cold or coffee hot for not hours or minutes, but days with the appropriate lid.
It'll keep it cold longer than it'll be good.
Yeah, you don't want to drink it
Yeah.
by the time that warms up.
You could go to a bar, have them fill it up, and then walk home and then drink it at home.
No, you can't do that because you can't leave a bar with the alcohol that was served at the bar in
Sit
most
at the bar.
jurisdictions.
Right.
Could sit at the bar with your beer.
What you could do is
For
go
a
in,
very, very long
Yeah.
time.
buy a beer right
Answer a bunch
now,
of questions about it.
and come back on Tuesday night and drink it then. If you wanted a really flat but still cold beer.
Yes.
So that's a
Yes.
thing you could do.
Cold's good.
Um,
Joey is about 36 push-ups away from doing 1,000.
Yeah, I saw it was
I can't
80
believe-
left when I left.
81.
Or
Yeah.
81, something like that. So.
he's
So
a
it
amazing.
should be the last set. I've no idea.
Are there balloons that are going to fall and confetti and all that
man.
stuff?
That would be. We should have totally done that. That would have been really awesome.
We could have spent $18,000 buying balloons.
Where are we at on the totals? I haven't looked in a while.
18,000.
Are we going to go push down on his back for the last few?
750.
Yeah, the last 10, Norm's gonna be standing on his back.
I have no idea what his. I can't even imagine what his body feels like right now.
I gotta imagine it's not real good.
Yeah, no, his arms and chest have to feel like jelly.
So yeah, we
Because I can do maybe 20 push-ups at a time for a few sets, and then I'm done. Right? I don't think I could do 100 in 24 hours without.
No, that seems
maybe.
seems about right. We're still missing some of the pledges from the people who've won auctions and stuff like that too. So we should have a little bit more coming in the not too distant future. I can't imagine. I do 5 or 6. Like on a good day, I'll do sets of 7, 4 or 5 times when we're doing push-up testing here.
You can train your body. It's got to be consistent.
Oh yeah, there's
add one.
that,
You know,
Yeah, there's that. What is it? 100 push-ups
100
site
push-ups,
and
yeah.
stuff. I started to do that for.
you don't
a
need
few
to buy a
days.
book to do that. You just got to.
No, there's just a site that just sort
Yeah.
of gives you the table of do this many, then tomorrow do this many.
Here are the number of push-ups you need to proceed. So the big tech news this week
Yes.
is Windows. Well, there was an iPad thing. We talked about that to death.
This 8 days is why does everybody have to put everything into this one sort of 8-day period where
are nuts.
Well,
iPad-
not just the product launches, but also the end of quarters.
Yeah,
fiscal
so
quarters.
all the end of quarter financial results, iPad Mini, which was so much more than just iPad Mini,
Yeah.
and then the Android thing, which is mercifully for me been bumped. Not for a good reason. Hurricanes are not great reasons.
No, it's
but
a
not good
superstorm
news.
too. I mean, just to be clear, it is this is basically the day after tomorrow stuff happening on the East Coast this weekend.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
Dennis Quaid's gonna get frozen solid in the frozen over remains of a mall, some sort of super cyclone.
So that was going to happen though early Monday, and then Windows
Yeah.
Phone we're finally going to actually hear about. We've been
Yeah.
hearing about the phones for like 2 months,
and-
and not the actual OS yet.
It's
And then build.
yeah. The Windows Phone thing is, I don't want to say it's unclear because I'm sure that they're clear with
I think it's
someone,
unclear.
But
Just say unclear.
I don't think anyone
If it's-
knows. I mean, I get the feeling that people inside Microsoft, I don't feel like one side may not know what the other side is talking about. Like
I don't think that's anything different.
Okay, well, as long as
The impression that I get
normal.
is that they think that they've got a feature or two that's really they think is really special, and they're trying to keep quiet about. Like there have not really been leaks
So
much about Windows Phone. So they keep announcing all these phones, and they talk about the features of the hardware features of these phones from HTC and Nokia and Samsung stuff, and then you can't hold them or use them, or it's
the
it's
hardware
very
features
suspicious.
the manufacturers can control because the new spec guidelines.
Right. But then at these events where they show off, look at the new Lumia, look at the new HTC.
It's all running, the beta software.
It's all running beta software. They won't let anybody touch them because they don't want to give away any of the stuff that Microsoft hasn't talked about yet. I hope that this is all because there's a really hot feature or two that they just don't want to spill the beans on.
I think that's being optimistic.
That is being very optimistic, but that's what I hope because I want
that would
things
be nice
to be great.
Yeah, it'd be nice for them to have a surprise.
The
Yes.
last piece of software I remember coming out, piece of hardware I remember coming out that they didn't let you handle in the lead up to was the first round of Google tablets, where instead of running an actual OS, they were just running a video loop.
Right.
I don't think that we're in that kind of a bad situation with this, but the thing I really dramatically worry about is that Microsoft seems to think that like that one killer feature is the thing that's going to break the market share that Google and Apple have built. And I profoundly believe that one feature, be it nav Apple, let's be clear, Apple Maps is real bad. Like it's become kind of a running joke at this point, but it is a dramatic step back in usability from the previous versions. Google still has
an addition of some features and a lot of bad
features,
data.
arguably that not useful,
and data that's bad.
I mean, the turn-by-turn navigation, that's nice.
I'm sorry, I mean like the 3D stuff.
Yeah, no, the 3D stuff is all that's eye candy.
So
turn-by-turn is useful.
But even that coming out, because their ecosystem is so strong, you can counteract that by downloading Bing Maps or TomTom or anyone. Well, TomTom's a bad example, but any one of the other 50 million.
The inevitable Google
things that you
Maps
can pay for
that'll-
or free.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, if that is enough of a hassle to you, you can work around it because the ecosystem is really strong. And I think, obviously they can't market ecosystem because they don't have one, or it's stunted.
Weak. Yeah.
Plus, we'll be more fragmented.
I mean, that is Windows Phone's problem.
It has been for 2 years.
The phones, after that first wave, were pretty good.
Yeah.
The OS is a joy to use in general. It doesn't have every feature that everything else is, but the big problem is it doesn't have Instagram or Pandora or United Airlines app, or there's you can just go down the list. They have 100,000 apps, but you can just sit there, rattle off on your hand,
and it's not
app
like,
after app after app.
It's not like the Instagram guys are like, oh, we hate Windows Phone. We actively want to shun these people. They barely got the Android version out, and because they want to do it right. And Facebook has a partnership. I mean, Microsoft owns stake in Facebook, which now owns Instagram. So.
So maybe that'll happen, but it's their issue isn't just number of apps or something like that. It's the gotta have it apps just aren't there, and
the quote unquote essentials.
The essentials, and if they don't get those essentials, Android's okay because they don't have the essentials first, but they get them quickly after. It's either simultaneously or everybody releases the iOS version and goes, and Android's coming soon, but Microsoft's not even in that boat yet. They're way away. So that's the thing.
So
that's what I want to see Monday is not, and it's this feature and that feature, and look at our voice assistant like everyone else has, and look at these. That's all great. I hope they do all that stuff. But what they really need to do is, and here's the 20 apps that we've never had that you've been dying for, and we've got all these.
We went out and found
they're
these people
all designed for Windows Phone, not
designed
just
for Windows Phone,
the mobile
really
sites.
Good. Yeah. Yep.
Right. I mean, and then you look at the Surface launch, which we got our unit on Friday because we were the app selection
around with John's.
on that is grim.
Yeah,
it is.
It is. It's. I mean, the few they have. I mean, like Netflix looks great on there, but you can't bank your whole thing on Netflix. They need some apps.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a Facebook app.
Right.
They don't have.
I mean, you can
Twitter
go to
apps
Facebook on the web and it's fine.
But you don't get notifications and there's a Facebook app on your Windows phone.
Right.
For a $500 base starting price tablet.
Yeah.
That's basically a new OS platform because it's RT and not just
it is.
Windows.
It absolutely is.
It's not like Google. Yeah, I mean, Google, Android does not have as many apps, but it can run all the Android phone apps on the tablets, and there's still more.
Microsoft's message around Windows 8 apps, the store apps, it has been it's going to be a gold mine, you guys. We're going to have 500 million Windows 8 customers and stuff.
Well, you were at that event,
and that's not the answer. Their answer needs to be not, hey, it's a gold mine, come make apps for us. It needs to be like, oh my God, look at all the app developers. We can hardly keep up with all these people, and that's not. That's
something fake.
I mean, it's not like they don't know how to do this. They've done it before. When they launched the original Xbox, they went out and got core developers to build games that people were really stoked about,
right? Because
they understood that's how you got people on the platform. And this is the analogy is a little bit different because instead of talking about $60 games and people have been Rare and Bungie, we're talking about Dropbox.
Yeah,
Dropbox is an essential app at this point for anybody who uses Dropbox. I realize that they have SkyDrive and it's awesome in some ways and it's worse in others. But if you're already using Dropbox, putting your Dropbox folder inside a SkyDrive folder is not the solution.
No.
That's not a good idea for a couple of weird things are going to happen if you do that.
No,
and you set it up wrong.
These are exactly the kind of things that they need to have. And I really wonder how many of those things just are all in the works and they're all coming very soon and we don't know yet.
I hope that.
I'm wondering if in a month the situation is going to be very different and people are going to look at those reviews of Surface and of Windows 8 and go, well, we would have rated it higher if we had known.
But
I don't feel great about that. I don't feel like that's probably going to happen.
The unfortunate thing is we're not with these devices where you cannot install third-party software from the web, from just any executable.
Yeah.
You really have to factor the ecosystem in.
Oh yeah. I would not recommend a Surface right now for that, primarily for that reason. I think
and that is just the biggest problem with the Windows RT right now.
Yeah.
That's not if that was fixed, everything would be great. That's just
that's just the biggest problem. I mean, they have issues like there's no 3G or LTE enabled version of Surface coming.
It's Windows RT in general, just like from a usability standpoint.
Yeah, it's got its problems. It also has some things that I really love that I wish a lot of the other tablet OSs would get on board with, like say multiple user accounts.
I think that's
child
great.
accounts and stuff like that.
Well, the contracts to share stuff, which Android kind of has with Intents, but it's not exactly the same.
Actually, that whole Charms thing, I wasn't sold on at first, and now the more I use it, the more I really start to enjoy the idea that I can't tell you how many iOS apps I use where I use it and I've realized I want to change a couple things and I don't know where the settings menu is, and I find the settings menu and it's got some of the settings, but it's not the settings that I want, so I have to go out to Apple's settings menu and find it in there.
The long list.
And the idea that every app, no matter what it is, I just swipe in, that settings menu is going to always have the settings for that app.
Guys, we're at $19,200.
That's pretty great.
My account. And we still have some pledges to come from the auctions.
And we're going to break 1,000 push-ups.
We're going to break 1,000 push-ups.
That is up to Joey when he's ready for it.
He can make that as dramatic or not dramatic as he wants. I think that they the thing that worries me is that I think they can make something amazing just by making a great OS, and that was true 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's not true. I mean, today, unfortunately, they're coming into a really mature market for their two main competitors who have the lion's sum of market share.
Yeah, it's you made the analogy to the Xbox and stuff, and the little bit of difference there is that every new console is a break.
Every generation.
Every generation is a break, whereas that's not true in these mobile app ecosystems. They just keep building and building. And they're really coming in behind on a lot of stuff, right? So
and I mean, the unfortunate thing is they have built the other parts of that ecosystem that are important, like the music and the video services are grown on Zune Music and Xbox Video and all the stuff that's been available on the console for years and is it's quite good.
And they have a good store in terms of like its rules and it's how they share revenue with developers, how you can pay for things and all that. Like all those things are good. It makes sense, and they're making a lot of smart engineering decisions, behind the scenes decisions, under the hood decisions. All that stuff looks great, but if I'm a buyer and the app that I want isn't there, then I don't care.
And the other side of that is if you're a developer and you're looking at you're a small developer. I was talking to the AgileBits guy, and I apologize. We've talked about this a little bit before. Who make 1Password.
Right.
And we're talking about, and they, because I said, I don't The only problem with using 1Password to store all of your passwords is that you really realize how dependent you are on it when you're typing your 26-character alphanumeric symbol character password into Twitter off of your phone screen instead of just copying and pasting.
Yeah.
And like those guys had to make the choice between they have good iOS support, they have good Mac support, they have good Windows x86 support.
Right.
Their Android app is just a viewer essentially, which is actually that's fine. Because
you
I'm
can
fine
set it up
generating
on
new
other
passwords
things,
and letting it sync across Dropbox or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no way to get 1Password on Windows 8 RT right now.
No.
Because you can't. It doesn't work with IE. You can't put other browsers on Windows 8 right now. They're not in the App Store.
Right.
And Windows 8 RT. Sorry, in the Microsoft Store. And
does it not work on the desktop IE? Or only the?
They say on their they have a web version that requires Firefox or Chrome or Safari.
I see.
As far as I didn't try it because it said like there were huge bold letters that said, "Hey, this doesn't work on IE."
Right.
So I didn't try it.
Yeah, I'd be curious. To try.
And I was tired of typing in like it is a lot of
I mean, and whether it's that or whether all your music is on Spotify or whatever it is, that's just a deal breaker.
Those are well, I mean, it may not be a deal breaker for everyone, but it's definitely a speed bump. In the road to adoption.
It's the thing that would prevent me from recommending.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
And the fact that you go down the top 50 list of apps on iOS or Android, and then you go down the top 50 list of apps on the Microsoft Store, it's still super early. So I mean, this is in a lot of ways this is unfair, except for people who are going out and buying them.
Right. In fact, they were lining up, which I thought was...
Well, you saw the Atlantic story, though, right?
Which one?
The Atlantic story that said a large number of Microsoft employees were spotted in lines in Manhattan and Seattle and some of
the
other
Seattle
places.
store for sure.
Right.
But even at all of the other ones, there were some lines.
The pop-up ones, you mean?
Yeah. At the pop-up stores and the other 6
for
retail stores.
The free year or whatever of Xbox Music, the promotion.
Yeah.
Early.
The first 35 people got free music for a year. I think that I am perfectly willing to believe that there are people standing in line for Surface tablets. I stood in line for a Zoom at one point in my life. That was a nadir.
It was a line of like how many people?
It was me and another dude.
Line of 2 people.
Yeah.
I hope it's better than that for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Zoom did not go well for Motorola.
The thing is, competition is good.
Sure.
Like if Apple runs
competition
away,
and a difference in approach.
Right.
And I mean, I know that this is a cliche when it comes to Microsoft, but it really feels like a product that, like, there are solid ideas inside, especially when I started using it with a touch device. Like, Windows 8 makes so much more sense when you're swiping in from the edges, and
right.
And like it is like the modern start screen is it works really well.
I've heard a lot of people say that a touchscreen, for example, a touchscreen laptop would be a waste. And after using Windows 8 on a touch device, I go, no, I actually kind of want.
Yeah, so we had Ryan Block earlier here, and what he said before he left was he said that touch on desktop and laptop, traditional computing, on the desktop, having a touch interface there doesn't make sense. There's compromises that are made.
Well, the UI isn't designed for it, and the register points are too small.
And
on traditional desktop,
traditional desktop, whether it's on a traditional
no, I mean
interface,
like on a regular
desktop PC or laptop, and we're seeing a lot of the OEMs releasing laptops with touchscreens, and also all-in-ones with touchscreens.
Right, and if you're in the regular
push-ups are happening.
This could be the final. We're taking a pause in the tech talk. I can't read that.
I'm
now.
going to go up and read the screen.
Someone needs to yell from the other room or something, because if we're is it ticking over?
He's 93, 94,
95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 1,000 push-ups.
1,002,
Oh,
he's into bonus time now. 8.
1,000 push-ups.
10, 11.
Holy
12.
crap.
That means everybody watching any collapses.
Oh.
Now, does that mean
That's
everybody
the tap.
watching has to donate $1,000?
Send Joey from Ellie in here.
Contractually obligated by turning on the stream.
If you're watching the stream.
I think Joey's
that's
earned a
$1,000.
Reese's peanut butter cup. I'm just saying.
Just one.
Just one. That's it.
Like
He's burned those
Kit Kat.
calories.
I'm just glad he's still alive.
That is amazing.
I'm glad that his heart did not
Now,
fail him.
has he been up all 24 hours?
Joey Frelly is the unsung hero.
He
of
took a
Octobercast.
very brief nap.
Okay. Still,
he has been running the TriCaster and the soundboard, doing all the production. Set up all of this stuff. I mean, we would sit around like dopes with our hand. I taped down some cables.
Yeah.
I wish Joey Family had received the praise that we've given The Walking Dead and XCOM throughout this entire podcast.
Yeah.
He deserves all that and maybe more.
Okay.
So we should have a couple, at least one and maybe more, big chip-ins hitting here in a minute. Of course, the tally's still going. There's still, an hour. Is it only an hour and 15 minutes left? No, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
God. Well, that seems a lot longer than an hour and 15 minutes.
Could watch
we
Cloud
have
Atlas.
crossed $20,000. That's amazing. So there is a big donation on the Joy Family Fund for $1,000.
There it is.
On that's the dollar for push-up challenge up to 1,000.
Yes.
I assume the tally is still running there because there
Tally
was
is
a
still
$2
running.
for every push-up above 1,000.
Yeah.
That is outstanding.
We do have one more guest. Also, if you're just tuning in, Gary had to run because
He has a
his
sick
kid,
baby.
his baby,
Yeah.
is sick.
Yes, she's fine. She has a cold. They're going to the doctor, but that is a team. You don't run man coverage on sick baby going to the doctor.
No.
You want to double team that.
Especially first baby.
Yeah, no, it's scary business.
Yeah.
So
To hear other parents I know, by the time it's the third baby, they're like,
Then the other babies can take care of
Yeah.
them. Can take care of them.
yeah, just give this one to the dog. She knows how to raise it.
Back to what we're talking about with Windows 8
Yeah,
and
fuck
touch.
Microsoft. Those guys are. Oh wait.
Touch on a traditional
kidding, I'm
desktop
kidding.
or notebook.
right. Oh, so I agree with you that if you ever use Touch on 7 or anything, or you're on the
Or
regular
on 7.
or you're on the regular desktop with a taskbar and stuff like that, the targets are too small; they're not made for it. Everything.
Even though there was a whole blog post that Microsoft made, we made the targets better in desktop. And,
even in
you can
8,
resize
it's
Windows.
not good. But in the Metro apps, or I'm going to call them Metro apps because the whole modern UI, Windows 8 style, whatever they call it, whatever, they're Metro apps. Those, I mean, if I had a 13-inch laptop, which I do, I mean, there are plenty of those apps that I would not at all mind reaching up and swiping over and doing this thing. Not to constantly use my computer that way, but to duck in, do some stuff that way.
Like for example, why would you need where would you see yourself needing if you had an x86 to Windows Pro, if you had your entire suite of traditional desktop programs running in desktop, where could you see yourself
I'm thinking like a
ducking
Ultrabook,
into
a MacBook Air.
Yeah,
something like
where
that.
could you see yourself ducking into
So
Metro?
their experiences like browsing video stuff, video services, Spotify, stuff like that, like if you go into Xbox Music, it's a much more visual experience. It's a lot, the way you browse around and stuff is a lot easier than tweaking around on a little trackpad through
or even a mouse.
many lines of things to do things. It's like a more enjoyable way to use some of those things.
In my head, it's maps because it's the maps
maps.
experience on mobile is better than in browser, and it's never been on built into Windows.
Yeah, maps. Anything you scroll around a lot, like in a lot of directions, like maps, scrolling and zooming.
And so,
like
for
that.
example, like photos, right?
Photos.
Browsing through, not only just swiping through photos, but zooming in, doing a rendered, accelerated pinch to zoom in a Metro, the Photos app.
Yeah.
You can do pinch to zoom in like Windows Preview in the desktop, but it's not
not the same.
accelerated.
Yeah.
No, even though you can do.
And even if it was, it's not.
I wish
there's
it
something
was.
immersive
I wish
about
it
that.
was
There's
accelerated.
There's
no,
something
I
nice
want
in
to
it.
be. I like Windows Preview.
Right.
Yeah, I want to see all the pixels.
Okay. So that kind of stuff, I can see myself with the right apps, and we talked about their apps deficit. I can see on a laptop where I would want to have a touch screen and be able to duck in there, do some stuff with touch, and then go back to my desktop and do some other
And that's something that Apple isn't doing.
That's something that they're not doing. They seem to have no desire
They
to
are.
do it.
I mean, we talk about the iOSification of Mac OS, but it really is bringing features like
they're going
Notification
piece by
Center,
piece.
whatever makes sense to them, and it's working so far. They're not charging too much for these.
They're going a little bit at a time,
but not touch. Definitely
not touch, but like the ways they're bringing in notifications and the grid of icons and all those things they're doing it a little bit at a time. And Microsoft just kind of skipped to the end game and said, "Oh, we're just gonna make one of us for both."
I'm not convinced that, and I don't think many people are, that having a touchscreen all-in-one or laptop and I see people do it.
I'm not sure about the all-in-one thing.
Like reaching out and having your hand out and holding it for more than 10, 15 seconds.
So as much as we say this, my niece is 10, right?
Yeah.
And she expects any digital screen to be touchable. Like
And
she'll
something
go,
to happen.
she would go up to a TV, and I mean she's not an idiot, so no, she knows the TV doesn't have touch. But a few years ago, because she saw people using iPads and stuff, and she's used that stuff, she would go up and expect to be able to touch the
kind of like
TV.
why every time we pick up a Kindle, we know now the Kindle does have touch. But before, it's like you kind of wanted to scroll.
Same thing. She's a big reader. They got a Kindle for her, and she wanted the touch one because buttons are not how you use things. And so that's a little bit of generational gap where guys like us have used Windows for 20 years and can't see the value. And
maybe I can't see the value.
There's a generation
we can see the value. We're just very
it's hypothetical though.
And we're used to, like in a Photoshop example, the precision of a mouse.
Right.
Like,
and I don't think you have to give that up. Like I can, if I had a mouse, and in fact, neat things about Surface is you don't. You can just plug in any old mouse. And just
but Joey from LA.
Oh, there he goes. Look at him.
You should come sit down a little.
He's so ripped.
When you have a minute. Okay. Good.
He's huge.
Look at those guns, man.
I know.
They're
for kids.
Yeah, they've got
It's more the barrels.
The thing I found is that when you reach out to touch the surface, you don't do that for very long. Like you don't reach out and do this. You're not doing weird finger drawing gestures or anything like that. You're literally just swiping across the screen and bringing out a charm or whatever, because it's easier to do that with the touch than with the attached keyboard on that particular device.
For example, if you're in Microsoft Word, for example, typing a document, a term paper, 16-page, 20-page term paper, you can use the scroll wheel, but if the option was there to easily swipe up and down as you would expect from using like iOS tablet and browsing through a web page, or a web page, for example, within that traditional Windows desktop, when you have your tiled windows, that's something that again Mac isn't doing.
That's something they're not doing. And I can see a lot of value to. I could do that, and then when I want to select text, I've got my trackpad and I can have my mouse and I have my detail. So
and you don't need to hold to
My bigger concern with all of this is that Microsoft's used to releasing an OS every 3 years, and they can't do that anymore. If this is a tablet OS, they got to have a major updates every year. They've got to have. They can't be selling Windows 8 in 2014 with a year left to go.
I think the $40 pricing for upgrades indicates a shift in the way they're pricing OS, and they're going to do an upgrade cycle.
We'll see if it goes.
They're going to see how it works. They're testing the waters.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is,
I think it'll last longer than January.
If this tablet thing doesn't go well, they can retcon the whole thing. Be like, no, we think tablets are real dumb. We're going back to start menu and. It's Windows 7 retro. It's actually Windows 9. It's all the new kernel enhancements for Windows 8.
I got to say, the best $5 you can spend if you have a traditional PC and are upgrading Windows 8, which there are many. Lloyd talked about the many fine reasons to do that under the hood. Get Start 8 for $5 from Stardock, and it's
in the Windows Store.
No, it's because it's an x86
I know, I'm
app.
kidding.
But
there are a couple
it gives you
of different
your start
ones.
menu back, and it lets you adjust how the Windows key behaves. So it does things like. You can adjust this, but you can make it so when I'm on my desktop, that just opens my start menu. When I'm in Metro,
it glitchy?
it goes back to that.
Yeah, so shell stuff always scares me.
It seems very solid.
Stardock's been pretty good in the past, but this is...
They had a while to test it, too. So
okay.
Yeah, it's worth its $5.
You guys, that's the best replacement?
I haven't. There's another new one I just saw.
Yeah, like
out
2 weeks ago,
or
maybe a month ago.
Even more recent than that.
okay.
That I didn't try out yet. So of the 3 or 4 I've tried, I think that was the best one. It's also got a very nice interface options menu. It's simple.
They have a long history of doing that kind of stuff from fences and all the other.
Yeah.
I mean,
of course, it doesn't help you on RT, but if you're getting if you have a traditional PC
on RT, it's less important because you're going to have a touch interface on RT. So
that's true.
So that's the.
And you can't get it. You have to buy that hardware, right? You can't just go buy RT or something.
Right. It's not like you're moving something old to something new. What else are you excited about these days? What's ringing your bell?
What's exciting to me is, and this goes a little bit to what our whole site's about, because we have PC World and Mac World, which are all about computers.
Yeah.
They're all about and Microsoft's ecosystem, and then over here it's Apple products and their ecosystem, and we're about all the other stuff like digital cameras and tablets and phones and
the fun stuff,
TVs and
I didn't
digital streaming boxes
here, but I mean,
yeah. So what's exciting to me is the way everything's about an ecosystem now, which is kind of a drag.
It's good and bad.
It's good and bad, but where that's good, that's really kind of changing my life. That's the idea that the things that I buy and things that I upload and data that I have gets accessible everywhere and all this other stuff is really starting to work. It's really starting to work well and not just be something geeky people have to know how to do and set up and everything. And I really love that that's happening. And I just can't wait for the next steps for those.
You mean just cloud services?
Yeah, cloud services and just the way that, if I buy iTunes songs, then they really are available just on other computers because it just knows I've bought them. Or, Microsoft's trying to do that too. And so it's not just about your Dropboxes and stuff, although I really like that that's having updates where it just updates my photos to there, and now those are everywhere.
Ecosystem agnostic services. More of those, please.
I would like that. I would like that more too. I think Smartglass is really cool. I can't wait till they just released the Android app for that.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
that's good.
way earlier than expected.
But it doesn't support the Nexus 7, which is kind of one of the main devices I would be interested in using that on, right? Is that?
I haven't checked out a
lot of what I've gotten of the last 24 hours of tech news has come filtered third hand through the chat and into.
So I think Smartglass is a really good idea. The way that they're doing that, instead of introducing Wii U style a whole new thing to have that tablet, is to say, it's actually that platform's all HTML5 based, and as a developer you push something to the cloud that pushes an HTML5 app to your tablet or phone, and that's how you interact with things. Game developers are going to do neat stuff with that, and then you don't have to throw it out when the next Xbox comes out.
That's
it's their AirPlay.
No,
not really.
It's much more than AirPlay. The simplest thing that it does is like AirPlay, where you it's actually not like AirPlay because you don't actually have the video on your tablet and send it to your TV. Right. If you have access to the video, you can say, "Hey, start playing that video I have," but it's not literally sending. It's not local to your network. In fact, you don't even have to be on the local network on your phone, right? Yeah, you just have to be signed in over. You could be signed in over your cellular network or something. The more interesting thing is that it's just this platform with APIs and stuff that are based on HTML5 that game developers can support to do all this sort of second screen stuff that normally you have to go 3 levels deep in an option menu to do. Or Grand Theft Auto, you could have a live map.
So you're saying
always
it's
there
Wii U.
Instead of that little thing. It's a lot like the Wii U, except you're not buying a whole new console with a.
They're not married to the hardware if it doesn't work out.
And they're not married to hardware if it doesn't work out, or to do the next gen hardware or whatever.
Yeah, it's an interesting and also they're smart because it leverages, in theory, in the future, which should be the not too distant future, it leverages other platforms that may have more market penetration than the Windows 8 RT tablets, which. I don't know if you guys know, but that stuff just went on sale yesterday, so it's brand new.
Yeah. So I don't know when their iOS version's coming out, but hopefully soon. I mean, all they'll say is within the first year, and that's with a little wink and a nod that, hey, it's a lot sooner than that. And nobody expected the Android version to come out, and then poof.
And they're saying there'll be subsequent releases with more support for other devices that aren't supported right now. Yep. So it's interesting times. Like I said before, I really I hope it works because competition is good. Google has done a really nice job with the Nexus 7, although it has some flaws that are relatively minor in the great scheme of things.
I still can't enjoy something about Android makes it. I don't enjoy using it. I know intellectually
it's functional.
It's got the features I want and it's functional and stuff like that. But it always feels like
a good pickup truck.
Yeah, and I don't want a pickup truck. I guess that's what it
trucks,
is.
I guess.
You're
from Vermont. You're a country boy. You should like pickup trucks.
I'm from Florida, actually.
Oh,
I lived in Vermont for a while.
Florida, jeez.
South Florida, which is not like the South.
Well, but Florida is one of those places that you get. There's 2 places that crazy stuff happens in the United States, and one of them is Ohio, and the other is Florida.
Yeah.
So anytime there's some dude that's hopped up on bath salts and goes and eats somebody, that's either Ohio, Florida, or maybe Manitoba. If we want to get
Central
to Canada.
Florida is what that is. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale though, so that's
okay. So
more
you're free and clear
north of anything else. So.
Okay. Oh, we have our next victim here lining up.
Excellent.
He's a little bit early, but we
can either overlap or I can head out or.
I think overlapping is
we
probably
don't need
good.
to let him
given
sit
our,
in the green room.
he should have had a little bit of a moment to enjoy the triumph of the green room.
Yeah.
I
like you guys' space here. By the way.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
we're right next door to a bar. It's not as good as the last place which was actually in a bar.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you guys, by the way, have an open invitation to come down.
We should do some cross pollination or something. And just come over.
Come be on our podcast. Do you guys know Carlos Rodella?
I don't. I know of, but I've seen him in events and stuff before.
He works for us doing our video stuff, and he and I host that podcast, and we always bring in guests, and we had Shu in and stuff like that. And,
excellent.
Yeah. So
we're just on. You guys are on 3rd, right?
Second.
Second. Yeah. So
right by 21A.
Yeah.
So anytime you guys want to just come down, we have a
grilled cheese
kegerator
right there.
Yeah, grilled cheese is right there. We have a kegerator in the office, so we
nice.
can record a podcast and have a beer.
I don't know if I'm
lovely.
I can do this with that 4 hours of sleep in 36 hours.
not any
But I don't
time
think I
really,
can have
really
a single
soon.
drop of alcohol and still remain coherent.
No, anytime you guys are free, just let us know, and we'll.
Well, thanks,
and
man.
it's an easy podcast to do because you don't have to come talk tech.
Yeah.
You can come talk. Oh, I watched this cool movie.
just shooting the shit.
I listened to this cool album. Whatever.
I like
That's
that.
what we're about.
Yeah.
Media matters.
Norm is
That's an
Norm
NPR.
is a media maven. I just play an occasional video game. So.
We talk about video games on the show too.
Well, let's.
great.
It's about 4 o'clock, so it's time for us to change the tape for the last time.
Oh,
Yes.
So we do 2-hour chunks.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna put them up on YouTube and
does
this
that
audio
mean we
podcast
go
and all
dark
that
with
stuff.
the audio stream? Still
So
go?
no, what happens is there's a video stream right now. What's going to
Yeah.
happen is we're going to there'll be some stream exclusive content that will never appear again. It's this time only.
Aha.
So if you want to get some stuff off your chest that you're afraid to have archived,
But you want
I'm going
to
to press the
let,
stop button.
a couple
right
thousand
now.
people know.
Okay.
If you're on YouTube, Joey, give me just a sec to give it out. If you're on YouTube, we've got one more show to watch, and then it's over. We're going to go home. We got 2 more hours. Patrick Klepek is up next. Jason, I hope you'll stay around for a little bit.
As long as you want. Me.
If you can be grumpy and kind of tired and not off occasionally, you'll fill the Gary Whitta role nicely.
I can't do the voice.
That's okay.
I'm afraid.
No, don't do bad
He
accents.
can't do
No.
the American voice
Yeah.
either.
I can't
Although
do real
it
accents
sounds
because I can
really
only
funny.
do cartoon character type thing.
But come back in just a second. Stream exclusive content right now. It's Octobercast 2012. We're having fun.